In this world, there's two kinds of people, my friend. Those with loaded guns and those who dig. Broadcasting from a Montana wilderness fortress at the headwaters of the Missouri, this is Matt Christiansen Live.
What do you think about the rise of communism here inside the United States?
My thoughts are pretty positive. I feel aligned, but I think I'm pretty pro-communism. I'm pro making things accessible. I'm pretty pro getting rid of prisons.
Wow.
How can you like to get rid of prisons?
The system of criminality is a very strange way to interact with humanity in general. I think it's kind of backwards.
Would you like to have criminals out in the open? Somebody who has raped a woman, would you like them to be out in the street?
I think my answer is yes, because I have been raped.
What?
And I'm not sure them going to jail is a solution to whatever's going on inside their heart.
That's incorrect.
You are fake news.
The American people are tired of women.
Very fake news.
Did Graham Planner rape you?
Definitely worth checking into.
Look at that big ass. Look at that big juicy booty.
You America-hating communist pig.
Would.
All right, America, go to the YouTube right now.
Skag free, whoever he is.
I'm impressed with the duct tape.
In 5, 4, 3.
I can't do it. We'll do it live.
Fuck it, we'll do it live!
Hello and welcome to the show. This is Matt Christiansen Live, a proud duct tape production for Sunday, August 2nd, 2026. Thank you for tuning in. Sitting shotgun tonight. In his usual Sunday seat is the highly regarded Matt Palumbo. Welcome back.
Good to be back.
Saddle up, partner.
No guest tonight. We're going old school. More on guest segments in a moment, but plenty. Yeah, well, he had a pretty good run, but
I'm
nothing.
Getting fired over this.
Yeah, no bites this week. Plenty in the news for discussion tonight, regardless. Hordes of Moroccans invade the North African Spanish enclave of Ceuta. Dozens are dead. Supposedly, pretty much all of them have been kicked out or left the city. They've gone back. But the scenes reminded me of World War Z, like zombies climbing walls. And there's a lot of theories about who's involved and what the organization behind it. Clearly, there's organization, though. It's not like 50,000 people, most of whom look like men.
Well,
remember,
they were
desperate people.
But even the police were encouraging them, as there was, and we'll get into this during the story, there was a court ruling that, from my reading of the headline, certainly made it seem like if you wanted to run into Spain, you get asylum there. But the president, who is pro-illegal alien, is saying, no, it's a very narrow ruling, does not mean this. So,
do you know the name of their prime minister or president or in Spain?
Pedro something?
Pedro Sanchez. You know who Pedro Sanchez is?
So J.K. Rowling character?
No, it is a character, though. You ever seen Napoleon Dynamite? Listen to me giving you movie information.
I only remember the dance scene at the end.
Well, vote for Pedro. Don't you remember?
Yeah. It was Pedro Sanchez.
Pedro Sanchez. Somebody voted for Pedro. Now he's the prime minister of Spain.
That's hilarious.
At the center of the controversy.
I had no idea.
An armed civilian stops a shooting, or at least intervened in the shooting. It's sort of unclear exactly what happened here, but there's an In-N-Out fast food restaurant in southern Idaho, and there was an off-duty police officer and an armed civilian who intervened there. So looks like it does, in fact, matter if people are allowed to carry guns or not. So This is a non-story as far as many are concerned, but we'll take a look at what happened there. After a gang war shooting at the Space Needle last Sunday night, Seattle's Mayor Katie Wilson fires the police chief, actually forced his resignation to save face for everybody. But Sean Barnes was the former police chief, mostly for being out of town all of the time, including last Sunday night when this shooting happened. For the mayor, it is a little bit inconvenient that she was his boss and approves his travel plans, at least.
She wants to abolish the police, and then when the police don't show up for work, we have to fire them.
Yeah.
Which I guess is a way to backdoor that, but it's the same. Like, isn't that good for her, though? If she hates cops, isn't it good that they're not showing up for work from her perspective?
I have no idea how to make sense of Katie Wilson's mayoral tenure, other than I wonder if she's going to last her full term. Now, she's new in this last January. Is she herself going to make it, or will she be resigning with a one-sentence resignation letter, which the police chief submitted on Thursday? Matt P. is going to catch us up on the Virginia governor's move to give voting rights to felons, and I guess I knew this intuitively, but I didn't know that people have studied the political loyalties of felons.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
You'll definitely not at all be surprised.
Yeah.
I mean, to kind of spoil it, it basically falls perfectly in line with demographics in that white men in jail support Trump at basically the same rate, the same rate that white men outside of prison support Trump. The fact that most prisoners are overwhelmingly Democrat is because they're mostly black and Hispanic, but they're not more left-wing or more right-wing than the general person. So that's the kind of boring take on it, but it is going to overwhelmingly help Democrats, and I'll break down some of the numbers much more when we go through it.
And a Georgia school shooter's dad gets a prison sentence for failing to stop his son. It's the second case of this. And I wonder about the implications of the idea that parents who do not intervene with their son's criminality, is that going to be universally prosecuted? Or really?
Is anyone in Chicago gonna? No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
No.
I have some questions about the alleged principles at stake with this prosecution, just like the last one. Of course, we have Hoax Hate to close. Before we get into all of that, got to say hello to our featured listener-owned business for the evening. That's a new one. It's our friends at Sport Drink. And before we do that, don't forget my new retro video game is available for pre-order as well. Hey, have you heard I now have a video game? Thanks to our friends at Soren Games, Matt Christiansen Media Mayhem is shipping soon. It is a retro-style Game Boy Color game that will play on any of your devices, your PC, your Mac, your phone, or tablet. Join me in my quest to perfectly cook French fries, 425, bring vehicular justice to cyclists while avoiding ethnic truck drivers, evade Soviet pursuit, and much more, all to achieve my ultimate destiny, confronting the masked journalist, defeating her, and earning the front page hit piece that is rightfully mine, and wearing the coveted golden flannel to mark the achievement. The game is full of bits and references, secrets, and even extra titles from our friends at Soren Games, games within the game. You even get an arcade version of their Leering Center game. Collect the cash and evade the oversight. It's all just $10. Learn more at mattchristiansenmedia.com/game. That's mattchristiansenmedia.com/game to pick up Matt Christiansen Media Mayhem, playable on all your devices. Are you tired of all the nonsense in most of today's athletic beverages? Artificial dyes, artificial sweeteners and flavors, stuff you don't even understand. Put that unpronounceable tiny type ingredient list away and try Sport Drink, a delicious, sparkling blend of electrolyte refreshment to fuel, hydrate, and recover naturally. Available in several different flavors to suit your taste, simple, clean ingredients like lemon powder, lime powder, sea salt. It's an honest, handmade in the USA product from a company that not only isn't pushing any crap, they don't take any crap either. If any journalist dares smear the product's honor, she gets rightfully blasted, and Sport Drink is proud to support America's young athletes with hilarious names in achieving their sporting dreams too. So don't be a stupid bitch and try the official Fago beverage Sport Drink. The listeners of this show get 10% off Sport Drink with promo code Christiansen. That's promo code Christiansen at sport-drink.com for 10% off Sport Drink, real ingredients, real hydration. Sport Drink. Sport Drink is not in fact what plants crave, but it is what you crave, so pick some up today. Check out my retro video game at mattchristiansenmedia.com/game. Yes, Matt is .gay/game works as well. And by the way, if you're interested in that coveted golden flannel edition, that will be exclusive to the Kickstarter pre-order. So there's still 2 weeks left to get an order in for that golden flannel edition. But yes, the game will still be available for purchase later in general as well, just not the super special golden flannel version. And of course, if you're interested in some Sport Drink or any of our other excellent listener-owned business products, check out mattchristiansenmedia.com/deals. Deals by listeners for listeners. Okay.
I like how direct the name is.
Yes, I appreciate Sport
No
Drink for that too.
there.
Yeah. Sport Drink is I had not tried Sport Drink until this week, and I got the real ingredients and the real hydration, and I'm never going back.
Was that journalist truly a dumb bitch from your taste?
I did not review the entirety of her career, but yes, I would say her Sport Drink take was way off.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Good. Very good.
I mentioned I had some thoughts about guests. We are going guest free tonight for the first time in quite some time on Sundays. Actually, we had invitations out. Unfortunately, they were not accepted. And I want to adjust philosophy with guests a little bit. Now, Matt P has done a great job securing those guests. We will continue to reach out. However, it's also pretty clear to me that listeners don't much care about guest segments necessarily. They don't generate much engagement, which is fine. They don't have to. It's not like I'm not going to do it or do it based on X amount of engagement or something. But the reality is producing them does take time. It takes time for Matt to find them. It takes time to prepare those guest segments for inclusion in the Sunday show. It takes time to prepare intelligent questions for those guests. So I want to be a little bit more thoughtful about guests. I think to some extent, maybe I've fallen into the trap of thinking I have to do one every Sunday to fit a certain format. I want to keep aiming for guests that are in the stories that we're talking about, because I always find that valuable to talk to the people who are actually there and are part of the events, and or people who potentially can bring some eyes and ears to the show. Because that's one thing that I think is important with the guest segments too is, hey man, it's hard to get people to check out the product these days with the way YouTube is and with how much competition there is in the podcasting and streaming market. Reaching out to guests is a way to just do that kind of word of mouth networking to advertise your show that way as well. So I won't go on and on about this, but you may, long story short, you may see some Sunday shows without guests going forward. I think it's also hard to find people in the summer. And then I've got a family vacation coming up for a week this month later as well. So that'll be hard to fit a guest segment into for that week's preparation. But you may see a little bit of fewer guests or fewer guests in general on this show. But we are still doing the work to try to find the ones that we think are worthwhile to talk to. So again, I thank Matt for his efforts in that, because it's not easy to actually wrangle people to come and talk. And you've been doing a good job of that. So I appreciate it.
And not to contradict anything you just said, but around midterms, I have a lot of ideas in the works we'll talk about for members of Congress that I think could offer some good commentary out of midterms. But, for the rest of the show, only I guess if it's someone really big for a specific purpose, then
we're going to aim high and see where we're going to aim for big gets, and we'll see where the gets land. And if they don't land, that's okay, because we got stuff to talk about regardless, including an Iran update.
Oh, God.
Why the fuck is the gas so high, bitch?
I could have made this same segment back in, April, May, June. It's the same script, but now with different branding. Over the weekend, Trump called off more bombing against Iranian targets, and yesterday posted on Truth Social, I haven't heard this one before, the perimeters of a deal have been reached.
It's a new one.
Okay. I've heard of a framework of a deal before. A perimeter, that's new and exciting. So Trump says the perimeters include the complete and total opening of the Strait of Hormuz and an end to Iran's nuclear threat, even though my understanding is that was already agreed to about 50 times already, and the nuclear threat was already eliminated. But here we go. We're doing this show one more time. Tune in Wednesday on the stream. We will go over how Iran broke the deal, and if they don't shape up, we're going to bomb their bridges and their power plants once and for all, or maybe just the perimeters around their bridges and power plants. That'll show them. Reminds me of the Penumbra's piece of constitutional law philosophy. Remember the entirety of substantive due process. The idea that the Constitution protects unenumerated rights. Where did they find that nonsense? In the Penumbras. Seems like Trump is finding peace and prosperity in the perimeters of the deal now. If you look closely, if you squint, you can see them. You can just barely make them out. No, I'm obviously, I hope this turns around. This thing has been a communication. It's been a disaster in communication and in practical effect for months. And I really hope that we can turn this around without more of a serious military commitment. But how many weeks and months have we been hoping for that? Trump posted on social media recently, like, look at the lengths of all these wars previously, and they're years long. And my Iran engagement has been what are we at? 6 months now or something? 5 months?
When did it start? March or April?
Something like, I think it was around March 1st, right? So we're not 6 months, but yeah, we're about 5 months.
Yeah.
And yeah, well, that's the thing is when you don't stop the conflict, it extends over time to reach the lengths of those wars. Because likewise, Iraq was advertised that way and it didn't turn out that way.
Yeah,
Nobody ever gets into a war saying, listen, man, it's going to be really long and it's going to be a struggle and we're going to pay a huge price for it. But I'm telling you, everybody, I guess maybe sometimes that happens, but for the most part, especially in the modern context, the selling point to the American people is this will be easy and quick and not risky. And at least in the Middle Eastern theater, usually doesn't turn out that way.
No, I just love paying $5 a gallon. It's
well, we'll see if the oil markets react to this news, and if practically speaking, he can get the strait open to get the prices back down. For a little while, they were creeping back down toward where they were pre-war, like the $65, $70 a barrel range, but then they popped back up.
But even then, there's still like a 2-week lag usually because the gas station is still selling gas they bought at yesterday's prices, even when they come down. So
yeah.
Anyway,
also a Mitch McConnell update.
He died.
We still don't know, but he did release another supposed proof of life photo.
What? But no video.
No video. And so this is the first one that we saw a couple of weeks ago with the Washington Post paper in his hand. So at least you could verify that this was whatever this is, whether this is an AI generation or not, it was created with reference to a current day Washington Post front page. Now we got another photo that looks like the same photo in the same spot, if I'm not mistaken, which I guess makes sense. If he's in the hospital, it would be the same hospital room. But he doesn't even include the paper this time. So in terms of verifiability, we're going backward. Why do I bring this up? Because, of course, we've been talking about whether Mitch McConnell is alive, incapacitated, dead, whatever. We don't have new information to reach any conclusions on that. But we do have a deadline coming up tomorrow, and I would expect that this is, in fact, the week that Mitch McConnell does die, or he's going to die very soon, or resign from office. Tomorrow, August 3rd, is the legal deadline in Kentucky, or a potential legal deadline for the governor to call a special election to fill a Senate vacancy. After August 3rd, generally close enough to the election, we'll just let it play out. It's a little more complicated than that because Kentucky's law is not totally clear, and there are some potential challenges to it that could play out. But
what I read, I actually didn't know this about Kentucky, that as of 2024, the governor does not have the power to appoint a senator. So if he does die after yesterday, we have a vacancy I don't believe we can then fill.
It sounds like if he even were to attempt to call a special election, because you're right, he doesn't have the power to appoint. He would have to call a special election, and the legal ability to do that before the general is in question. And just as a practical matter, would you really want to? If Mitch McConnell is retiring in January, this seat is up for election in November. Of course, the citizens of Kentucky deserve Senate representation in the meantime, but I guess they're going to have to figure that out in Kentucky, how to handle it, because it's out of the governor's hands, according to the legislature.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, so I was just, when I was researching this on Kalshi, they have it at 20%. He resigns before the midterms. But then again, if that happens after tomorrow, it's still in that weird legal limbo. But in the end, it seems like this is going to be a red seat regardless. There's no real question there. The Democrat candidate is Charles Booker. He previously ran for Rand Paul's seat, and he lost by 20 points. So it's not obviously going to be that competitive when it does come down to the election.
We'll see. If I wake up tomorrow and Mitch McConnell is dead, that they're probably going to give it a little bit more time than that, so it's not quite so obvious. But I think we're going to find. I think we're going to get some Mitch McConnell news in the next week or two, potentially, or not. You know, my predictions are always inaccurate. So
well, didn't
probably
Bashir
totally wrong.
think he was dead last week?
Well, Bashir said,
that?
yeah, he said he was told by agencies that Mitch McConnell had died. He said non-governmental agencies. Who are these agencies and how did they have that knowledge? He himself didn't clarify. And of course, Bashir is a Democrat who may have a political axe to grind. But he did say that. He is the governor of the state. So people are talking to him. Anyway, speaking of dead people, this story was sent to me by listener Dustin. Listener Dustin's not dead, I don't think.
Kodzo is not aging well at all, man.
Actually, yeah, this might be Ghazi. You're right.
Yeah.
There is a dead man involved in this story, though. And I've seen in some true crime shows I've seen recently, I don't know if this is a rising form of crime or if it's just that I've seen more examples of it, but this concept of estate theft. So the idea is a fraudster finds a barely alive person, like maybe Mitch McConnell, and either convinces that person to make them the executor on their estate, the person who's going to decide how to allocate their property or even effectively own the property. Or this fraudster just outright forges estate documents to claim the property. So in Houston, a funeral home director is accused of doing exactly that to a man who recently died. His name is Lawrence Gammon. And Lawrence Gammon left behind a couple $1 million, an estate or collection of property that's worth a couple $1 million. And the accused funeral home director in this case is a very interesting character. No, it's not Ghazi Kodzo, Black Hitler, but some might say this person is unique. His name is Unique Micah Green Battle. And he's a tranny, a man presenting as a woman, and that's his tranny name, Unique.
Yeah. I hate to say it, but my reaction to this story was, like, of all the scams that exist, this is probably one of the smarter ones because your victim has no clue what's going on.
Well, some of these people have pulled off these estate frauds for years. And there was one I was watching in a documentary out of California where this woman claimed to be the executor of this guy who she said was still alive, but she basically weekend at Bernie'd him for years. You had LA detectives calling her up. So, like, you're the executor of his estate. Where is he? Oh, he's just very busy and he's got stuff going on, but he's in the other room and he says he'll call you later. And she got a bunch of money out of him in the meantime. So for people who are remotely competent, it seems like this is a very practical fraud angle for them.
And the thing is, too, if you're the fake executor, like, unless the family, who I guess is going to be owed the property, knows every asset holding of the person who died, it's very easy. Like, I don't know where my grandparents have money. Like, I would have no idea if someone was misrepresenting that to me.
Like in the LA case I was talking about, that guy didn't have family, which made him a prime opportunity for people who seek this sort of thing out. Yeah. And it's not just that Unique here was fraudulent with some documentation, accused of forging death certificate documents, will documents to steal his property, but investigators also found buckets of human organs when they raided Unique's funeral home.
Oh my God, bro!
Now, in Unique's defense, she says, I was actually running a Planned Parenthood clinic on the property as well.
I was wondering when that joke was coming in.
Yeah. So, it's not as abnormal as it seems. So Unique had a court hearing this week, and for all the heinous things he's accused of and probably committed, I got to say, he handles reporters pretty well.
I don't have anything to say. I don't get out of my face. Did you know? I don't have nothing to say. Did you know? Get out. I don't have nothing to say.
It's a double negative.
How did you make an $800,000?
Yeah.
Okay.
Where about your clothes, your uniform you got?
Okay.
Yeah, she has no comment. At this point, she has no comment on advice of counsel, and I'm not going to allow her to make any kind of statement.
I'm a celebrity.
Did you forge those documents?
Did your mother forge them? Did your mom forge them?
Where did that
Maybe your mom forged them. Come on out of the way, baby. Get out of the way. Get out of the way. They were for you to eat for lunch. Stupid. They were for you to eat.
In the story, they're mentioning how he posted $800,000 bond, and we're like, it's unclear how he came up with the money.
Yeah,
it's a real mystery there, guys. What do you think?
Yeah, it's like
the only possible way.
Right? Yeah, had some access to money one way or another. Anyway, here's hoping Unique is uniquely popular in prison. And you know what? For all the fraud he's committed, gender-based and property-wise, he is unique. I'll give him that. A very unique individual. So appropriately named.
I mean, if you're, okay, I'm not trying to defend this kind of behavior, but if you're somehow become the executor of someone with no descendants and the money is otherwise going to go to the state, in that one specific narrow instance, is that kind of like you're going to spend the money way better than the government would? No,
isn't Unique really a hero when you think about it?
I'm sure he had Unique's case, but I mean,
I'm sure he had purposes for those organs.
In a hypothetical where the money would just be going back to the government, in that case, is it then ethical to spend it? I should not encourage fraud on this.
No,
show.
he's doing
anyway.
the same thing the government is doing, which is actually in the estate context.
It's
are they really
way.
stealing?
Yeah.
In the estate context where they can't find family to whom the money or property goes, what do they do with it? Does it get donated, or does the state actually take it for the state's purposes?
I know if you have an inactive bank account past a certain amount of time, the state can just take it. I don't know if it just goes into a general fund or what, but I assume so. I don't think it's earmarked for anything.
Yeah, they're not giving that to charity. It's the government.
No way.
All right. YouTuber Nick Shirley, famous for discovering the Minneapolis Quality Leering Center, among other fraud investigations. He should actually look into Unique and Company. He'd probably find some interesting things. But he was doing a man on the street video. He put one out this week in New York City, and he asked people what they think about the rise of communism in America. And one young woman said she embraces communism generally, but specifically the idea of abolishing prisons. And Nick asked her if she wants rapists on the street. And she said, yeah. After all, mine is. He's walking around all the time. I say hello every day. I give him a nice wave. And this clip's a little bit long. But when I sat down to cut clip, I could not cut this.
Because, Stalin hated prisons. There was no gulags anywhere. Mao,
yeah,
Pol Pot, they all hated prison.
I want to play as much of this exchange as I can because the whole thing is pretty amazing.
What do you think about the rise of communism here inside the United States?
My thoughts are pretty positive. I feel aligned, but I think I'm pretty pro-communism. I'm pro making things accessible. I'm pretty pro getting rid of prisons.
How can you like to get rid of prisons?
Well, like the system of criminality is a very strange way to interact with, like, I guess humanity in general, and like things that as a species we're not interested in, like perpetuating. I think it's kind of backwards. And so I'm not certain what prisons are actually doing for our society. And so
would you like to have criminals out in the open?
Well, do I want criminals out in the open? Sure, I'm fine with that because the idea of a criminal is like a little bit funny to me.
Let's just say somebody who has raped a woman.
Totally.
Would you like them to be out in the street?
I think my answer is yes, even though that's a challenging answer to say.
So if you got raped, would you like your rapist to be out in the street?
Well, like, let me finish, because I have been raped, and they are out in the street, and I'm not sure, like, them going to jail is a solution to, like, whatever's going on inside their heart, or even my own heart that, like, contributed to that experience that I'm having. And I don't want more people to get raped, but I don't know for certain that going into a jail in the United States is going to shift anything inside of their like operating system so that they'll make a different choice again.
Millions
Thank
must
you guys
die.
so much for your time. And is there one last message you'd like to give the people about the rise of communism or freeing the people inside the prisons?
Just like free yourself from the own prison in your heart, and then maybe we can get somewhere.
What the f
okay,
is this?
I know I've made this point before on the show, but these prison abolition people are not for abolishing prison. They're for abolishing prison for rapists and murderers and like homeless schizophrenics. But like more than half of Democrats wanted to jail people who didn't get the COVID shot.
Yeah.
They want to jail us for Angela Davis, who is, I think, probably the most famous prison abolitionist. She wrote a book called Are Prisons Obsolete? Which her answer was yes. Supported all of the Soviet Union's political prisoners and said they deserved it. So is it, how is it coded? Is it people I like or people I don't like? If you said to this woman, suppose a neo-Nazi shot up a black church, should they go to jail? They would be calling for the death penalty.
Suppose a neo-Nazi said it's okay to be white. Would he belong in prison?
That alone would also get the death penalty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Suppose a
N-word
white
would
woman
get
on a
death penalty.
playground said the N-word once.
Well, they actually do think you should be able to get killed for that. And that, look at the reaction anytime a white person is punched for saying that or is killed. There was actually, Scott Greer had an article on cases like this where a white person will use the N-word in an argument against a black person, get killed, and then the black person gets acquitted and that's a big part of it. I think you probably covered the Portland stabbing version of this. Yeah.
I remember that. That rings a bell. I don't know if I talked about it.
So that was the one. The guy, he got stabbed by a black guy. He called him the N-word after he got stabbed.
Yeah.
And then that got the black guy off.
That's right. I think Sean, last week's guest, Sean Fitzgerald, talked about that. And I think I talked to Sean about it, is where I overlapped with that one. But I know this is silly, goofy material. We're supposed to laugh at that. And maybe she's not articulating it the best way. But what she's talking about, the philosophy of a justice system, is actually a major point of contention between, I don't know if it's the left and the right or Democrats and Republicans, but it's a major point of conflict in this country. Why do we have a justice system? And I would say the reason is in the name. It's justice.
Yeah.
It is to impose punishment on people who have committed wrongs. That's why it exists. But for a huge portion of this country, maybe they don't believe it or haven't thought it out to the extent that she just said, where I think people shouldn't go to prison and they shouldn't face punishment, and really we're supposed to fix them or restore them. That is the thinking, even if they don't go to the full like rapists on the street extent. They think the philosophical reason we have a justice system is to help people or restore people or fix people who are actually good guys. It's just they made a mistake when they committed a crime. And I'm sure in some instances, people made a mistake and could be rehabilitated, but there does exist a large population of criminals, people with no moral sense, no moral core, people who are predators and will prey on you. And if you don't put them away, they will necessarily victimize others. When she says, I don't want people to get raped, you have to put the rapists away, though. And that's why the justice system has to be indeed pursuant to the purpose of justice, not pursuant to the purpose of rehabbing people out of their rapey ways. That's not the reason it exists.
If a prisoner becomes rehabilitated, I think that's great. But if the logic was you should be able to go free once you're rehabilitated, well, what about someone who commits a crime of passion? What about a guy who kills his wife after he catches her cheating on him? The odds of him committing another murder are probably close to zero. It was a one-off thing based on a very specific circumstance.
Yeah.
Do we just say, oh, you're not going to do it again? All right, go enjoy the rest of your life.
Right,
well,
exactly.
Of course not.
There's justice that needs to be reached and imposed.
Exactly. Yeah. So very similar. And then the last point would just be, look, when you put someone in jail, it's a reverse butterfly effect. It's all these other crimes they were going to commit suddenly don't happen. So when someone looks at an isolated incident and says, hey, this burglar, they only stole $500 worth of stuff. Do we really want to spend $40,000 a year imprisoning them? Well, yes, because they're probably committing 100 other crimes too. And like you're preventing all these other things from happening in the future when you do this. Anyway, this woman's a retard.
In summary, repeal the 19th. Moving on. Hey, speaking of rape, Graham Plattner.
Did Graham Plattner rape you?
A few weeks ago, after the Maine Democrat Senate debate to replace Graham Plattner, we joked that Graham Plattner was indeed the best candidate, despite his troubles. Troy Jackson emerged as the winner of that contest and is now the Democrats' nominee for the Senate in Maine. And when I watched the debate, I thought he won mostly by shutting up. He was mostly nondescript. He just didn't look like a jackass. And that may have been enough to win compared to the freak show that was on that stage. Turns out he is pretty weird, though. According to investigation by independent journalist Steve Robinson, Troy Jackson is in a long-term relationship with his high school sweetheart, who is also his second cousin.
That's disgusting.
And they have 2 kids together. Great. And he's referred to her as his wife, but they're not legally married. Now, this is not first cousins, to be clear. There's a lot of cousin talk going around this story, and that is accurate. But in fairness, they're second cousins.
It's legal.
So right. It is legal and normal in the North Woods of Maine, this report says, or at least it's more common there. Everybody lives in a town with 200 people, and hey, man, it's either your second cousin or nobody, apparently. But second cousins share the same great grandparents, not grandparents. So 3 generations removed, not 2. In other words, Jackson's mother and his not wife, mother of his children, okay, effectively his wife, her father and his dad, no, his mom and her father, let me get this right, they're first cousins, which is kind of crazy. So put it another way. If you have a cousin with children, which I do, think about your child and your cousin's child getting together.
Yeah, it's pretty weird.
It's pretty close, and that's pretty weird if it happened. Again, the two are not married. It would be legal in Maine, but for Maine Democrats, it's something of the Pawn Stars.
This is an improvement.
No rape? Best I can do is no incest, okay? You didn't want Graham. This is all you can get. The Babylon Bee headline was maybe a little bit better. Maine Democrats explained they can either do no rape or no incest, but not both. So take your pick. As you wrote in the Discord server responding to this story, what kind of spell has Susan Collins cast?
Something, man. She's got power, that woman. She's our rhino.
I guess.
Yeah.
In fact, responding to this story, Troy Jackson did not deny.
That's what I noticed too.
But he did blame Susan Collins. Susan Collins will do anything to distract from the fact that she votes with Trump. Okay, but
she cast that spell like 50 years ago on this guy. It's crazy.
Sold her soul to something for sure.
Yeah, good for her.
Okay, let's talk about Twin Falls, because it sure looks like a well-trained and prepared armed civilian stopped, or at least minimized, a shooting at an In-N-Out burger in Twin Falls, Idaho yesterday. And my first response to this story was, wow, they have In-N-Out in Twin Falls now? That's not very far away, but apparently In-N-Out. It's a brand new restaurant in southern Idaho. Cool. In-N-Out is expanding. They're getting into southern Idaho. Yeah. The restaurant in Twin Falls has been open for just a couple weeks. So about 2 p.m. local time yesterday, a gunman who was identified by authorities earlier today as 24-year-old Chad Williams approached the In-N-Out, and the sequence of events is still a little bit unclear to me, but he's openly carrying what appears to be and was described by witnesses as an AR platform rifle. A witness speaking with the AP and quoted in this New York Post reporting says he saw the gunman carrying a rifle come out of the drive-through area before another man armed with a pistol began firing at him. We'll see that in a moment. The witness says an employee then rushed to help a wounded coworker. So somewhere around the drive-through window, he shot an In-N-Out worker. The coworker then tended to her, and the man who returned fire with his handgun also tended to her. Witness says she was shot in the chest. They were trying to treat her in the parking lot. And the employee and the man who returned fire with his handgun, they tended to her until paramedics arrived. The In-N-Out president confirmed that there is an employee dead. Now, presumably that woman that the witness is talking about, but it's a little bit unclear because the death count is 3 and 5 wounded here. We know the shooter is dead through a self-inflicted gunshot wound. So we have at least one In-N-Out employee, the shooter himself, and then there's a third. So it's possible there's a second In-N-Out employee.
Well, he shot into that Tesla. That video went mega viral.
I don't
know if there's anyone in there, but I assume there must have been.
So a little bit unclear who exactly is dead and for what reasons here. We don't know why this shooter targeted In-N-Out, what his motives might have been. But there are several pieces of video, and it's hard for me to tell what the sequence of events is, whether these are in chronological order or not. But we can see the shooter with at least one gun. Some reports say he had a handgun or was grabbing one out of this car. He is getting something out of the trunk that we'll see. But he's shooting at the In-N-Out window, apparently. And as he's doing this, there are some animated witnesses yelling at him from the street. They're watching this happen and they're yelling at him. YouTube, of course, doesn't like shooting footage, so I have to blur a little bit of it and deploy the honks. But this was that scene.
Oh, dude, they fucking shooting up. Hell yeah. What the fuck? Dude, that nigga got an AK.
Oh, hell yeah, he does.
It's just like being in the movies.
Motherfucker. He got fucking serious fucking gun. Oh, now he's getting a motherfucking. Oh.
He's grabbing another gun.
Oh, yeah.
He's grabbing something bigger.
We're getting the fuck out of here.
You better get out of here. Hey! Stop shooting! Stop shooting, bitch!
It's ballsy. I'll give him that.
No, I felt like I was right at the movie theaters with the commentary. It was great.
Yeah. Okay. We can also see the armed civilian respond with shots. Looked like he had a suppressed handgun. And maybe there's some return fire at him there as he ducks for cover. And then there's that video clip you were referencing from the parking lot. We can see a still here. The shooter is taking shots into a Tesla. Mm-hmm. Unclear if there were people inside,
or
what the deal
through.
Yeah, what he's doing.
Yeah.
But so he takes some shots through this Tesla windshield, then he's just running around the parking lot. I don't know what he's doing with the shots, and I definitely don't know what he's doing just running around the parking lot, but people recording it are trying to figure it out, and they're obviously scared. Yeah. He's like a Grand Theft Auto character right now. Like, what the hell's he doing?
He has no idea. He's hoping the cops just forget about him.
He's like intermittently jogging, sometimes walking. It doesn't clearly. He's not taking any cover. He's also not pursuing anybody clearly.
Also, word of advice: if you're ever in a mass shooting, sit there with a camera and hold it at the guy. Just track him. Don't. No self-preservation.
Say
at
stop
all.
shooting, bitch, and film in vertical orientation. Okay.
At least, although I don't know, but I guess if you're the guy recording here, you do risk drawing more attention to yourself if you try to drive away. So maybe
that's
I shouldn't
true.
be criticizing him, but
yeah,
I would just be on the floor at that point.
If you're gonna go, you have to go. But in a parking lot, that itself is risky in a chaotic situation. I mean, putting it to the floor, like you might hit somebody or something. Or people might think you are part of the whatever's going on criminally. People thought that shooter who was engaging him might have been part of the. Like if this was a group shooting operation or something, it was unclear that he was a good guy to start.
Right.
But based on social media posts, that good guy, we don't have his identity confirmed by police, but earlier today, police did confirm that the shooter was engaged by this armed civilian and an off-duty officer. As far as I've seen, we don't have video of the off-duty officer. Again, we don't know if these guys actually hit the shooter. We know the shooter shot himself. Did he do that because he was shot? We just don't know everything yet. But the guy that we saw taking the shots with the suppressed handgun there, he is believed to be a guy named Jordan Salinas. And this is according to screenshots of communication with family, confirming Jordan's involvement. And Jordan posts on social media about gun rights and preparedness, including videos of his suppressed FN57 setup, apparently. Presumably that's what he was running here, though we don't know. And the distinctive hat in some of his videos is the same one we can see the armed civilian wearing in the video from In-N-Out. So if it is, in fact, a 5.7 and a bucket hat and a beard, then I think it was actually Captain Price from Call of Duty. I think he's the one who stopped the shooter. But actually, it looks like this Jordan Salinas guy is doing his best Captain Price impression, because this is apparently a video of Jordan and some of the content that he posts on social media. Cool. Quick on the draw, I will say. I don't know if he landed these shots, but he can get them out there quickly. All right, so a guy who takes training seriously and preparedness seriously, if this is in fact the right guy. Again, based on the reports, I'm still unclear who the third dead person is, but that is what the report is: 3 dead, 5 wounded. Yeah. And once again, we have a shooting that will be mostly a non-story in the eyes of national media because the damage was limited or reduced or intervened upon by an armed civilian and an off-duty police officer. But in where? In a constitutional carry state, in Idaho, a state that says non-criminals may carry guns legally without a permit. This guy was there to engage and to help out victims before police could. And that's not disrespect to police, of course. It's just understanding that police can't be everywhere all at the same time. And so if this is, in fact, the guy, of course, salute to Jordan. God bless him. And thanks for stepping up to be the real life Captain Price when the situation demanded it. And I want to close the segment with some thoughts from our friend Justin Nazaroff at Phoenix Ammunition. Oh, did I forget to grab this? Let me. He had a great tweet on this. Oh, wait, no, it's right here. Yeah, Justin Nazaroff at Phoenix Ammunition posted in response to the shooting earlier today, ask yourself honestly, would you have had the tools, the knowledge, and most importantly, the bravery to have done the same? If not, you can fix it. The last one will take the longest, but it'll be the most satisfying. Get out there and train. So, God bless this guy. And if only we can all be sufficiently prepared and brave to behave exactly the way that he did yesterday.
Yeah. I mean, I know we don't have any info yet, but as for the motive, I mean, I don't want to be irresponsible and speculating. I'm just going to put it out there as a potential. But I know In-N-Out is a Christian company. I think they have Bible verses on their drink cups. He also shot up a Tesla that may have had people in it. I mean, is this potentially a left-wing terrorist for that reason? Maybe
they are dots to connect. So yeah, we don't know for sure. But it's not insane to think that those are deliberate moves. Actually, Chick-fil-A also closed down in Twin Falls yesterday out of an abundance of caution. Now, I assume there are many fast food places in Twin Falls. It's not a huge town, but it's big enough that there's more than a few options. And to that point, is that why Chick-fil-A closed down? Is it just because, hey, man, someone's really angry about fast food in this town? Or is there something that connects both of those dining establishments? Again, pure speculation right now. But unless it is some sort of personal thing with that employee, which maybe it is, it's just sort of weird to, if you have a personal issue with someone, like you had an argument or it's an ex-girlfriend or whatever, like why the work site? You know, what is it about In-N-Out that would make you choose that as the site to get your revenge for personal reasons? Gotcha. I assume there is a reason, to your point, but we don't know.
And I got conflicting info on the Tesla guy. Tim says Tesla was charged, the owner was shot, he survived, and the latest details say he's in surgery. Some people in the chat were saying he got killed, but so we don't have that.
See, I hadn't even seen confirmed information that there was someone in the Tesla. That's confirmed.
Gotcha. Whatever Tim says, I go by. So
okay, well,
he's still alive in our universe.
Okay, he's boss around here.
Yeah,
but yeah, there is a third person killed. So the shooter, the In-N-Out employee, and somebody
So it's
else.
either the Tesla person or someone else. But,
yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway. All right. Before the top of the hour, let's get into I always want to read it Queta. It's not Queta because for some reason, my brain mixes up the U and the E. It is Ceuta, the small Spanish enclave that became the site of a massive, unprecedented migrant invasion from Morocco. Mm-hmm. So to be clear, so there's no confusion, Ceuta is a Spanish city. It's on the tip, the northern tip, just the tip of Morocco. So Ceuta is on the African continent. When I first saw this, I thought, are these dudes swimming across the Mediterranean?
Dude, Fox News reported this as being part of the mainland. Like in their Chiron, they thought this was mainland Spain.
Well, that's what I thought when I first saw the images. But okay, I'm glad I clarified, and I'm glad I'm not the only one who thought that's what was happening. I actually did not know before this that Spain had these two small cities on the northern coast of Morocco. They do. They're just these little enclave cities. They are Spanish territory. They are not Moroccan. But it is the only EU shared land border with Africa, which makes these places hotspots for migrant movement. Of course, people trying to move into the EU from Africa, this would be one way to gain access to the EU without actually crossing the water. Anyway, some 50, the numbers I've seen between 50 and 60,000 people crossed from Morocco into Ceuta. If that number's accurate, it's about 2/3 the size of the city's entire population. It's not a giant city. It's a sub 100,000 city. And they crossed, the reason it looked like maybe they crossed the Mediterranean, they were actually entering by water. They were going around a pier on the eastern side of the city, and then they swam ashore. And the video of the volume of people, again, it looks like a zombie movie. It looks like World War Z. It is an absolute anthill.
Less harmful than the reality that's going on.
I'd prefer the zombies if I
would too. The zombies don't want citizenship. They don't want welfare. They
just want your delicious brains. Yeah,
and also eat my brain. But yeah, it's less of a problem.
So here's just a couple clips of the movement of these people en masse. So you can see that pier on the right, I believe. There.
إذا كيف كتشاهدوا الآن معنا متابعينا الكرام الرملة ما بقاتش كتبان، الرملة ما بقاتش كتبان. يعني اليوم سلطة غادي تعمر كلها بالمغاربة. شوفوا شحال من واحد، شوفوا فين وصلوا. شوفوا شوف.
Okay.
شوف راس الجبل، شوف راس الجبل، شوف.
Again, we're always told people are just so desperate looking for a better life. We'll talk about the organization in a moment. But it is almost exclusive. I see a lot of male pattern balding in that crowd, okay? I don't see a lot of children. I don't see a lot of women. It is adult fighting age men, as any invasion would be.
To be fair, though, if it was all women and children, my response would be identical. So
yeah, but
get the fuck out. Sorry.
Well, of course, yeah. Whether they're women and children or men, whatever, it doesn't entitle you to cross borders in that way. But the talking point about people just looking for a better life for their families. Where are the families, though? What happened to the families?
Why can't they make a better life in their own country? Is there something wrong with the people?
To the organization that happened here, there's clearly coordination. By the way, I appreciated this point too. A scene like that, you got hordes of people crossing a border. Just remember, the Constitution requires, if we saw something like that, which effectively we did at our border many times over, the Constitution requires every single one of those people. You can't kick them out without a full legal hearing and infinite appeal opportunities. That's what the Constitution was designed to protect. Anybody can just cross the border in that way, and they can stay here like Kilmar infinitely, abusing the legal system before we can get them out of here. Yeah. Anyway, as far as the coordination in the organization here, clearly there's some of it. There's this video here of Moroccan authorities. You see the guy in uniform.
Yeah, the government was encouraging it.
Yeah.
Is the crazy part.
The Moroccan...
Well, I guess it's not crazy from their perspective, but...
They're moving people in trucks or dump trucks, whatever these are. They are... What we're watching is movement of Moroccans by the Moroccan government or facilitated by the Moroccan government right at the border with Ceuta and Spain. And they're just dumping these guys off to go rush the border. Of course, music added for effect. This is clown cars. Like, I know that's a big truck, but how many people are even in this? It goes on forever.
It's a clown car. It's like
final.
What is that? Is how do you? That could be like an SAT program problem. Like calculate the length and width of the truck based on the number of people.
Yeah, it's like that, or like those contests that are how many M&Ms are in this jar, how many pennies are in this jar.
That's basically what it is. How many migrants are in this?
Did you see the guy who brought a bike?
Did he steal it?
I don't know. Maybe he swam with allegedly his bike around the pier and got it onto the beach.
El máquina de la semana. En bicicleta por el agua.
Una bicicleta por el agua, as they say. Bicicleta del mar. And if you thought you hated cyclists, just wait until illegal immigrant cyclists hit. Yeah. You know how you say cyclist in Spanish?
Faggot?
Homosexual.
Pretty close.
Homosexual.
I knew our minds think alike. I did have some notes on what the catalyst was. So our friend Pedro.
Let's save that for just a second because I do want to get into that. Yeah. I have more insanity, but just a little bit, and then we'll talk about what the reasons for this are. Did you see the white woman just waving them on?
Oh, it's in character. Yeah.
Of course. Here she is, very naive white woman welcoming the hordes to her country. I assume it's her country.
Vineyard residents didn't want them.
Yeah. I wonder what her opinion about imprisoning rapists is.
I wonder if she feels safe walking the streets at night. I can't figure out why.
Okay. As expected. Hey, at least she's filming in horizontal orientation, though. I do appreciate that. Thank you, ma'am. Now,
unlike the mass shooter guy who was doing vertical.
Yeah, exactly.
That was not cool.
Many of these migrants got violent when they entered. They were seen throwing rocks at Spanish emergency vehicles.
Well, they can assimilate into African American culture well.
Yeah, drop them off in Chicago.
Bring them here. Oh, yeah. Be great.
As of Friday evening, authorities say more than 48,000 of these migrants have been returned to the Moroccan side of the border. So effectively, all of them.
I doubt it.
Decide if you believe that. But in the chaos, many civilians were seen doing their own policing, handling migrants with batons and scooters.
Those are citizens?
Supposedly, these are Sudans handling them with batons, and then this is a Sudan guy handling Moroccan migrants with his moped or his scooter, and eventually they
over here.
Yeah, they get this one guy, and police come and arrest him, is what we're apparently watching here.
Nice.
All right, they got him and supposedly removed him and all his friends, is what the story says. 72 people did die, mostly in drownings in the water.
Oh, thank God.
Others, oh, what a silver lining. Others were trampled or crushed. So this was a deadly event. But you want to talk a little bit about why? Because there are a lot of theories about why. Some are very interesting. So I just
had a few bullet points in my notes, and it should be context that they recently gave citizenship to like 500,000 migrants. In Spain, yeah, and the socialist government was, oversaw this. There was a viral clip of a woman from one of the other left-wing parties who was openly bragging, "Yes, this is a great replacement. Yes, we're going to replace you, and yes, they're going to be voters." But apparently, you're also anti-Semitic for noticing them saying this. Very confusing stuff. But anyway, so this is a whole separate issue, and bizarrely, Prime Minister Pedro doesn't want these people in, even though he just legalized 500,000. So I'm confused what the difference is here. But he said human trafficking networks are encouraging these crossings by misrepresenting a Supreme Court ruling on migrant returns. And Morocco's government was also apparently misrepresenting it. According to this explanation, traffickers and migrants incorrectly assumed the ruling meant anyone who could enter by sea would not be deported. Okay. They're saying the ruling was very narrow, and that's not what it's referring to. I guess the sea being going from Morocco around the pier into the country, which is, I don't know if they meant like actually crossing into mainland Spain.
The thing about that is this is not actually, the volume is unprecedented. The tactic or practice is not. Because to reach Ceuta, people often swim this way, whether it was quote unquote legal or not, because it's much like the United States, as far as I've read. If you are an African seeking asylum or you're trying to be a refugee, if you get into Ceuta, because mostly by land, you're just turned away at the border. But if you get in, and the sea is one such possible way to get in, then maybe you say the asylum magic word, or you game the system to stay in European territory. And so the swimming tactic has been deployed, just not on this level before, and with this level of organization, apparently.
Yeah, so my last bullet point was just on June 29th, Spain's Supreme Court issued a ruling stating that authorities cannot summarily deport migrants who arrive by sea without due process because they did not cross a physical border infrastructure referenced in Spanish law. And obviously they're trying to claim a loophole based on what we just said, which apparently, thank God, does not apply.
So maybe there's some kind of legal ambiguity by sea, and a bunch of Moroccans who are pissed off about whatever's going on between Morocco and Spain politically, which apparently there are tensions there that have been ongoing for quite some time as well. But others say, did you see, who's behind it?
Pedro Sanchez?
No, Pedro Sanchez might be behind it. That's right. The Jays.
Boo, Jews.
It is a bad thing. And so if it's a bad thing, they must be behind it somehow. Now,
so there could be an NGO facilitating it. I mean,
and the commentary from the ambassador is weird. Okay. Now, Spain's government has been harshly critical of Israel over the war in Gaza. So the Israeli UN ambassador, Danny Danon, tweets on Thursday.
What a name.
Yeah. Spain, which never misses an opportunity to lecture Israel, has declared a state of emergency in Ceuta following the crisis over its immigration policy. Maybe before it continues lecturing us, it's time it explained to the world why it still maintains colonial enclaves in Africa. Okay, I'm not...
Ben-Gvir, who's, I think, Netanyahu's defense minister, also had a tweet to a similar effect that was basically mocking Spain and framing it as punishment, which was, an interesting choice of words. I mean, he is correct; it is punishment. But
and as far as I've seen, have I seen evidence that Israeli leaders organized or facilitated this movement at all? I have not, but that is a weird thing to say.
Yeah,
just from a PR perspective and a diplomacy perspective, again, this guy's job is diplomacy, UN ambassador. You're handling your diplomacy like a high school girl, laughing at the misfortune of your rivals. I get it. You don't like Spain. Spain doesn't like you. That's fine. Why insert yourself into this situation unless you want people to think that you have something to do with it? If they have nothing to do with it, why are you... Number one, why are you commenting on it? But number two, why are you making this judgment of like, good, haha, you suck, I hate you?
Yeah.
And in response to that tweet, Spanish Transport Minister Oscar Puente said, well, things are starting to become quite clear. So he's leaning into the idea that this is some kind of Israeli op. Now, again, do I have evidence to say that this is an Israeli op? I don't. But it's not hard for me to believe that African hordes would try to move into Europe on their own by virtue of their own interests. However, someone clearly organized the event. 50,000, 60,000 people don't just get up and move together in unison that way. Where are the trucks who are moving them coming from? Who's paying for those trucks? Who's paying for the gas? And there's clearly somebody behind it. If there's this level of organization. It sounds like the Moroccans is what Intel says.
We just learned, though, that we can make socialists be against mass immigration as long as we brand it as being Zionist. So maybe I think Zionists are why Mexicans are in this country. We need to get rid of them, guys. That's my new reason why.
I guess so. So the Telegraph is reporting that Western intelligence agencies have, and when have they ever been wrong? But it does make sense. Okay, this seems logical. They're concluding that the Moroccan government facilitated, and I don't have to believe Western intelligence sources. I saw the video of the Moroccan military guy or police or whoever he was standing there unloading a truck full of people at the border. So sources say that Morocco is frustrated with Pedro Sanchez, the prime minister of Spain. They've had enough of his antics with Napoleon, and he won't give them any tots or whatever the situation is. But yeah, Spain did in fact vote for Pedro. Good for them. Morocco doesn't like Pedro. And so they are trying to they're trying to create some sort of leverage against him. They do this to undermine him. And Morocco has done this previously. They sent 8,000 people to Ceuta in 2021 during a dispute with the Spanish government back then. So the tactic has been deployed by the Moroccans. Perhaps they just got way more organized and did it 5 times over this time. But it seems like the most plausible explanation is Morocco has a bone to pick with Spain, and this is the way to do it. Flood them with migrants and then use that as leverage in order to get what you want in whatever the dispute is.
Yeah, I mean, shithole countries do benefit from diaspora politics and populations. And I mean, India is kind of doing that in America right now. They've infiltrated the tech sector, a lot of things, and then they make it so politicians have to pander to them. And I think it was Modi who was asked about this, and his response was, and someone could find the exact quote, it was something like, well, I don't see the big deal. I mean, Jews have been doing this forever. Like, it's a brazen way to go about it, but it is true. And Morocco sees this as well. It does benefit them to have their citizens in other countries because they're going to be sending money back. They're going to be trying to eventually, down the road, influence the politics in Morocco's favor and so on and so forth. So,
all right. Well, I want to take a break there. We're at the top of the hour. You want to catch up with some super chats, and then we'll get back into some stories. Before we do, hey, have you considered joining the MC Club? Well, you should. Here's why. Hey, if you enjoy the show, please consider supporting the show by becoming a member of the MC Club. For as little as $1 a month, you will enjoy a series of exclusive perks, including ad-free videos and podcasts, video calls, and a community Discord server with me and other listeners, loot box giveaways with channel merchandise, your name in the credit roll after videos and streams, and much more. But most importantly, you will help keep the Duct Tape production alive and independent from all those sinister forces of control. Join the MC Club at mattchristensenmedia.com/support. Linked in the description. Okay, I'll start off. Newbie is here. Of course, if you read this,
you are gay. LMAO.
Thank you, Newbie.
Never saw that coming.
I don't. Hey, man, drive the bit into the ground as long as you want. That's the whole point of this production, I would say.
K. Burke.
Yes.
I called a quote-unquote debate a leftist show. The topic was trans women are women. I'd love if you or any MC listeners could call into one of those shows too.
I didn't know. Tell me what show it was. I didn't know that there. Frankly, I had no idea there was such a show that you can call in. So the channel's called Debate a Leftist?
He said a debate a leftist show, so I don't know if that's the channel or not. If B. Kirk, if you put clarification in the regular YouTube comment, I'll read it out.
His name is K. Burke, not B. Kirk.
I have dyslexia, obviously. This show has proven that. K. Burke.
Yeah, K. Burke, send me an email. I want to know what that show is, because I just had no idea it exists. So that's cool. Thank you for that. Yakko. The invasion of Spanish towns reminded me of the Biden years when our borders were allowed to be swarmed. It can happen here again depending on the outcome of 2028. Executive orders are easily overturned. It's 100% true. The best thing Trump has done, whether you think the deportations are sufficient or not, and of course,
they're not.
Pretty much everybody would like more. Pretty much everybody who voted for him, at least. At least the faucet has been turned off by all indications.
It's 20,000 people a week on average that are not entering the country illegally. So, as disappointed as people are with Trump on a whole host of things, at least be like, there's 20,000 people did not enter the country this week that are going to take forever to get rid of. So.
But the unfortunate part is there has not been a single law passed by Congress to change the way the border operates. Right. Trump did that by a change in executive action and philosophy. The next guy who has the Biden philosophy and takes the Biden action,
he's going to undo it all.
Yeah, it's probably the single biggest. It's the most important thing and most important reason to vote for president, but it actually is squarely constitutionally perhaps the president's most important function is border security. If the executive doesn't do that, why the hell do we even have a president?
Yeah, to protect other countries.
Yeah, of course.
Yes. Let's see. Newbie of Death. I'm calling my TDS friends Trump-phobic and explaining to them that they secretly want to be Trump. And they secretly want to be Trump. Let me start over. I'm sorry, Newbie.
Yeah, no, this one's in your defense. This one's hard to read.
But,
yeah.
But let me just rewrite it in my voice. I've been calling my TDS friends Trump-phobic and explaining to them that they secretly want to be Trump.
Yes.
Comma. This has yielded some good times this week.
That's an interesting strategy, I guess.
Sorry, Newbie.
I'm surprised you have TDS friends, frankly.
Yeah.
I mean, I do as well. Not anybody close to me, but at this point in my life, I just with people who have genuine TDS. All right, I'm not the sort of person that's like gonna tell you that I've blacklisted you or something, and I don't blacklist people. If they want to talk to me, they can talk to me. But as far as my day-to-day engagement, I have just homer-backed into those bushes. I just don't engage. Yeah. But maybe you're doing it right, Newbie. Maybe if you can get the gears in their head spinning and they rethink their ways, that's always a win. To me, the people who are still set in this stuff so many years later, I guess I don't ever want to think that somebody's unreachable and you shouldn't try, but man, aren't there some people who are unreachable though?
What I do with people that I know are like far gone, like if it's like a neighbor who's like a boomer lib, I lean into it to an absurd degree. Like they'll be like, complaining about something Trump said on Twitter, and I'm like, yeah, I know he's a war criminal. Like, I'll just bump it up 10 times higher than what they're saying. And for me, it's really amusing, and they think I'm agreeing with them, but I'm just kind of effing with them.
That's an interesting strategy. Agree with them to an absurd. He should be raped in self-defense, Graham Plattner style.
I'll drop that tomorrow with
try that.
Janice. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, newbie. Spirit of Lexington.
I think this one might have been quoting me. Matt, Unique is doing the same thing the government is doing. And I was referring to stealing people's money after they die. But he says, you mean keeping organs in a bucket?
Bingo.
Is that like a Planned Parenthood?
I'm sure the government has a vault. It's like Fort Knox with gold. You know, they have a vault of human organs.
Why not?
Somewhere, I'm sure. Do we even... wasn't there supposed to be an audit of Fort Knox? Are we sure the government even... Do they even have a gold stockpile, or is it like the IOU collection in Dumb and Dumber? Probably something like that.
Yeah.
Haughty Twerkman, if Mitch goes to the pearly gates, St. Peter will make his eyes bug out with one sentence. I have a line for you. Yeah, well, Mitch, you know, of all the... Mitch McConnell, of course, has... It's not like I am desperate to vote for Mitch McConnell or love Mitch McConnell. Mitch McConnell has been... Do I really want to say this? He's been effective and good in some ways, though. The way that he managed Supreme Court appointments was great.
He invented that completely made-up standard that you can't appoint a Supreme Court justice ahead of an election with like Merrick Garland. Remember that?
Yeah.
That was all him, and thank God for that. So
the Supreme Court would look quite different without Mitch McConnell, and that does matter a lot. However, of all the things Mitch McConnell has done wrongly, I think the end of his career is the wrongest of them. That's not a word, but I'm going to say it. The wrongest. What he's doing here to cling to power despite hardly clinging to life, or maybe not even clinging to life, it's a disservice to citizens of Kentucky who deserve coherent, capable representation in Congress. All right, that's owed to them. But to me, it's such a disservice to family and from family, too. You're 80 plus, you're dying. Do you really want the last years of your life to be sitting in D.C. hoping maybe you can waddle to that seat one more time? You only have X amount of days left with your family. Go spend them with your family. And I can't believe that family members actually do this to their family. For the families of, say, Joe Biden, like the Joe Biden people. Joe Biden, Mitch McConnell's family. I know that you can't tell them what to do. They aren't your slave or something. If Mitch McConnell's sons, I don't know if he has kids. I have no idea. But if his family, let's say he has sons, they say, Dad, we really think you should retire. They can't force him to do that.
Yeah.
But at some point when you're like, don't you have to talk to your dad? Does Mitch McConnell even have kids? Is that why? Is that why nobody's telling him the truth here?
I feel like he must. I mean, he's like 1 million years old. You got to have something.
He has 3.
Oh,
yeah.
All right, good.
Okay. Yeah. So, God, man, Mitch McConnell has been in the Senate longer than I've been alive.
He's the longest serving senator ever.
And I'm not young. Okay. So this cling to power stuff, and this is why people want term limits, and I think that's perfectly reasonable. We should get it done. But anyway.
It's sad, though, that we even need term limits, because what it implies is there are people that are going to be horrible that keep getting reelected, and there's nothing we can do to stop them besides making it illegal.
That's the unfortunate truth, right? Is the American people are their own term limits, you know? Like if we actually held this principle that people who are too old to function on a day-to-day basis should not be representing us in Congress, if we actually held true to that, then term limits would be unneeded because these people would be voted out of office on principle alone. However, I say that and I believe that, and let's say we had Montana Mitch McConnell in the Senate. We don't. Our guys are younger. But let's say that was happening. They say, okay, do you want my vote, it came down to my decision. Do you want Montana Mitch McConnell, or do you want to risk, Montana AOC, Zoe Zephyr, the tranny in Missoula?
Oh, yeah, that
I'd be like,
person.
I got to vote for that barely alive 85. I have to. I know I would do that. And so I can sit here and criticize and say people should stick to principle and not vote for these decaying old people. But when it comes down to the alternative, what choice do you have? So,
right. We get who we deserve, sadly.
Well, that's the unfortunate truth. In an elected system of government, the government is a reflection of us. But I think the counter to that is how many shenanigans go into that elected system of government. And I'm I'm not saying it's all fake and it's all fraud. I just think there's enough scheming involved that maybe the reflection isn't it's more of a funhouse mirror than a good one-to-one mirror, you know?
Yeah. We got producer Tim. We like producer Tim. Was grocery shopping yesterday and saw something that bugs me as much as unreturned shopping carts annoy you.
Not possible.
What are both your thoughts on people no longer wanting a grocery item and just dumping it on a random shelf? It pisses me off. Death penalty. It depends on the item. If you have a snack item and it's 2 aisles over and it's similar, like, it's other bagged items, I feel like that's a lesser offense. But the other week, I was in the soda aisle and someone left a chicken in where the sodas go.
Okay,
that I feel like should probably be resolved with capital punishment. Yeah.
No, I feel the exact same way. And it actually, the last time it happened to me is I had to go get some stuff for my sprinkler system at Home Depot a couple weeks ago. And I'm going into the irrigation aisle, and some son of a bitch, and actually it was a woman, because of course it was. There was a Starbucks cup right there with whatever her stupid drink was, and her name was like Amy or something like that. And Amy, you're like a journalist who doesn't like sport drink, you stupid bitch. And I grab it and I take it out of there and I throw it away. And the thing about what I don't understand about the garbage, so there's two different things. There's picking a product off the shelf and putting it back because you decided you didn't want it, which I don't like, but makes more sense because it's still store property. The people like Amy or whoever this coffee woman was, they have garbage they brought into the store and they leave it on the shelf
There's
as
cans
though
it's not that hard to find a can
but aren't you in the store to collect merchandise for purchase? How could it be that you can't carry this piece of trash to the proper trash
the
receptacle?
Cart has a cup, at least where I go.
You have to be a unique brand of asshole. It's like you're trying to be a dick because there's no, at least the cart people have the excuse of laziness. There's really no lazy component to the garbage thing. It's just like, I'm an a-hole who doesn't want my own garbage in my sight. So I put it there where it doesn't belong.
I'm not saying there's a racial component to this, but I did see a TikTok video that was funny from a black TikToker. So it was showing some self-awareness where it was like black people versus white people returning items at the store, and like the white person goes back to the exact spot and like gently puts it there and then like gives it a kiss goodbye
Proper
and walks
American.
away.
Yeah.
And then the black guy just is like holding it and just throws it across the shelf. And like, there's some self-awareness
I heard that 13% of the people leave 50% of the Starbucks cups on Home Depot
Amy
shelves.
probably was not one of them, but
I don't know.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tim. All right, Guardian Game Studio, our Fred Spencer, who made the Matt Christiansen Media Mayhem game. Matt's game has reached funding status.
Nice.
That's great to hear, and thank you, Spencer, for all your hard work and your team, because I know you got several guys who worked on it. Also, please mention to check your connection to the channel. I noticed tonight my TV in the gym and my phone was Mitch McConnell from the channel. Oh, well, I wonder... Saying, wait, okay, so who needs... Also, please mention to check your connection to the channel. Oh, as in like maybe your subscription status? I think he means the user or the viewer's connection, right? Is what he's talking about. That stuff happens all the time. Like you just get randomly unsubscribed, or who knows, you don't, stuff you watch, if you're subscribed to it, doesn't show up in your feed. As always, like I can't control what YouTube nonsense does. If you're looking for the show and you can't find it, mattis.gay. Type that into your browser. You will find the show. It's right there for you. But thank you, Spencer. It's a lot of hard work from you and your team, and I'm glad to see that that funding goal reached for the game. And of course, we're gonna keep pushing. Well, hopefully, we can sell some more games for the next couple of weeks, and hopefully, this will be something that we can have as a project for the channel for years to come. Because as I've said previously, not very many people have their own stupid little video game. I say stupid little thing because it's kind of a joke, but of course there's a lot of work into it, and Spencer and his team did that, and I appreciate all their effort on it because it's a really cool thing that not a lot of people have.
Cool. Just to address one comment, it's not from the batch, but there's some guy saying in the chat he's getting an ad like every 5 minutes. If you're on Chrome, just Google like YouTube ad blocker, and you can install it to your browser right away, and it should solve that problem for
You're fired.
Forever.
Matt P's pay has been cut 50%.
What do we make per viewer? Like 8/10ths of a cent for a view?
I can't. I think technically there is a way that you can sit there and like manually add play on YouTube. All I do for YouTube for the live show is what they call balanced, because I'm not hitting the button that is supposed to be spamming ads for maximum revenue. They have 3 settings that you can automate. There's like max ads, minimum ads, and what they call balance, which they say generates revenue, a balance of generating revenue versus viewer experience. So hopefully it's not more than 5 minutes. Again, if you have to use an ad blocker, I get it. I would hope that if you use an ad blocker and you find value in the show, you would become an MC Club member for as little as $1 a month. But not everybody, has the money. I understand.
My compromise.
But you can use Brave Browser or use the ad blocker if
do the ad
really
blocker,
bothersome.
but then after the show, remove the ad blocker and hit refresh 10 times.
There you go.
All right, next comment. Esoteric Unbound. Part 1, and I'll read both. Marrying second cousins in a small town is sketchier than you might think. And I thought it was sketchy.
Yeah.
My dad descends from 2 big families in a small town in Minnesota. 2 siblings of his mom wed 2 siblings of his dad.
Ugh.
As a result, my dad shares the same 2 pairs of grandparents with several of his first cousins, genetically making them siblings. Some family trees are, in fact, ladders.
Be careful out there.
Well, good God. That is worse than I thought.
All right.
I'll have to just circle back with you.
From Starch
is there? Okay, let's grab that one because I don't have it.
All right. Starch Manning, we have an election coming up. Do we have any more horde footage? No. Can we create something else? What is horde?
I think he's talking about the footage from Ceuta. Yeah. There will. So, because we don't have horde footage in the United States, we need to can't we just take the Ceuta footage and say, well, I mean, Trump was talking about it. You could just take the Ceuta footage and say, you want this on the southern border again or not?
Right.
You didn't even have to misrepresent it. Yeah. Or just take footage of the southern border from 5 years ago.
Correct.
And you'll get the same effect. Yeah. So, okay. Appreciate all our super chatters. We will come back to chats at the end of the stream, but we're going to get back into the news. And I want to start with an update about the chief of police in Seattle.
Be gone!
Now, former chief of police. Recall on Sunday night, there was a gang shooting in Seattle at the food festival near the Space Needle. This is actually ongoing when we were live. I did post a video about it on Wednesday because, of course, there's the shooting itself. And then there's the reaction and the management. It was gang warfare. And we know that based on the people who were involved and based on the police investigation. The mayor doesn't want you to say gang, though. So we had all this bizarre newspeak coming out of it. The initial description of the person they arrested on the scene was a young person. So we've moved beyond youths and teens. Now the young persons are at it.
Young people.
And throughout the press conference, I don't know if you saw this, Matt, Mayor Katie Wilson kept saying group members. And I know at first I'm like, what the hell is she talking about group member? She means gang members. She's talking about gangs, but they're groups now. Watch out for group members in certain urban environments.
I hate group violence so much.
Now, part of the controversy was the police chief, Sean Barnes, again, now former police chief. He was out of town during the shooting, and he was in Dallas, and his absence is controversial. The reason for his absence is even controversial. Do you know where he was? Did you hear?
Was it some sort of party situation?
Close.
A nightclub?
No, that's a little further away. But he was at a
party.
He was at a black law enforcement conference in Dallas. That's where he was. So like a racially organized police convention out of town. And when confronted about his time out of town, which is not just for black law enforcement conferences, but it's for a whole bunch of reasons, because he actually lives in Chicago, so he leaves town all the time. When a reporter asked him about that this week, Sean Barnes got a little bit irritated.
Oh, yeah.
I have been here working as hard as I can for this city from the day I got here. Do you got that?
But there are reports that you are not in town often.
Their reports are wrong. Do you understand? Let's go, man. Let's go. You understand?
So when
I work. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Thank you.
Okay. As I said in the video on Wednesday, It's very interesting that the reports are wrong when the report of him being at a black law enforcement conference in Dallas was provided by him. He stood at the podium and said that. Okay. God. And so now Katie Wilson, the mayor, has fired Sean Barnes. Now, officially, he resigned. But reports say that she gave him an ultimatum, the classic ultimatum, either you resign or you are fired. And originally, reports say that Barnes didn't want to resign, that he was going to fight this. And he didn't. He submitted a letter of resignation on Thursday. And you know that Barnes wasn't very serious about the resignation. You know it was forced, and you know he didn't like it because the letter is exactly one sentence long. I hereby submit my resignation from the position of Seattle Chief of Police effective July 30th. Or he's just illiterate,
one of the two.
2026. Yeah. He's out of here. He doesn't care.
What are the intersectional implications here, though? Because she hates cops, but she also probably fetishizes black people. So does it cancels out perfectly?
Well, and now she has a record because she has basically taken if there were demographic reasons for this selection, she has stayed on brand. But more on that in a moment. Because the mayor can act. She's saving face here, of course. She's acting like Sean Barnes, the former chief, just resigned because he mismanaged the shooting and he's been out of town all the time. Of course, she is covering her own tracks. Her own response to the shooting was ridiculous. So the shooting happened on Sunday night, Matt. It's like 7:00 Pacific, so about mid-show. And there are people killed in downtown Seattle. There's one person arrested, but the scene is chaos. Nobody knows what's going on. Everybody's fleeing this festival by the Space Needle. And the city, Katie Wilson, city leadership, they say nothing for 5 hours. All the reporters, people who are at the festival, they're trying to get information and they're waiting for them to talk. It's 5 hours later. And per the police department spokesperson, the reason that they didn't have a press conference and made everybody wait, the reason they delayed it wasn't because they couldn't figure out what was going on. It's because they had to wait for Governor Bob Ferguson and Congresswoman Pramila Jayapal to arrive to speak like the dignitaries that they are. So not just has the policing been botched in Seattle by Katie Wilson, as we spoke about with our guest Jason Rance a few weeks ago, but the way that she handled even communicating with the public in this case was a complete disaster. And again, for whatever problems Sean Barnes has as police chief, she's his boss. She signs off on the things that he does, and now she has thrown him under the bus for her own incompetence largely. And when I say that perhaps she has a demographic mold that she assigns to the role of police chief, well, the newly appointed interim chief is not just another black guy. This guy is going to fill in while they find a permanent police chief, but another black guy from Chicago. So who actually not just from Chicago, lives in Chicago or has a home there currently. So it is Deputy Chief Andre Sales, who is going to serve as interim chief. And we heard from him at a press conference, and reporters asked him about the exact same thing. Hey, man, I see that you live in Chicago. You going to be hanging out here, or are you going to be leaving all the time?
You, like Chief Barnes, maintain a home out of town in Wisconsin, and I wanted to ask how much you typically have been traveling to Wisconsin, and how that will change in this new role.
Thank you for the question. I maintain a home in East King County here. I also have a secondary home in Illinois, not in Wisconsin. I was a police chief in Wisconsin. I do frequently go back to visit my family, probably about every 8 weeks or so. But my wife spends most of her time out here with me. We're looking to make this our home, this our area that we can retire to one day. But right now we have some kids that we need to get settled, and one day we'll make this area our home.
And maybe I'm being a little bit unfair to him. Jonathan Cho, of course, our friend, the LaDonna reporter from Seattle. Hey, nothing wrong with the fact that he lives in Chicago. And maybe there isn't. For all I know, this is probably maybe very common in policing, especially in big cities like this. And we don't know that this guy's going to have the same sort of problems that Sean Barnes did in terms of being out of town. Maybe this guy will be much more committed to it. Certainly the scrutiny will be on him much more than it was for Sean Barnes as a result of Sean Barnes' behavior.
Yeah.
But
he probably has more experience with violent crime coming from there than, which I'm not even trying to be funny. Like, he definitely does. So
I don't know if he policed in Chicago or in the area. He did mention that he's a former chief of a smaller town police force, but I don't know where that was.
I just like that she's so committed to diversity, she went halfway across the country to be like, all right, we got to find one somewhere.
The fact of the matter with Katie Wilson, everybody, even if this guy, despite the demographic similarities, is the total opposite of Sean Barnes. The policing gets aggressive. This guy's there all the time. He never goes home to Chicago. He's very diligent. He's very professional, and he's serious about arresting criminals in Seattle. How serious can he be working for Katie Wilson? I think the fact of the matter is everybody's going to fail under that lady, and she's going to blame them in sequence until people finally realize, hey, Katie Wilson is the common denominator here. But Seattle, the rest of the country, but especially Seattle, they're going to have to suffer even more before they will ever consider voting for not only an alternative to Democrats, but potentially an alternative to socialists.
Yeah, well, she de facto fired the guy for not being president. But if he was president, and I mean literally there during the crime and took out some of the shooters,
yeah,
that would then become the reason to fire him, was he shot people who could have been taken care of in some other way.
I believe the term is group members, not people. Group members.
Group members, sorry.
Yeah.
Group members.
Anyway. All right. So you want to tell us about the governor of Virginia. I thought she was plotting to make felons. She's already doing this.
So it used to be in Virginia, or actually it's in their constitution, that if you're a felon, you do not have voting rights. Now, there was a process to restore them if you're a felon, and you have to be in good standing, meaning you're obeying your probation, no subsequent violations. If you have any fines, they must all be paid. But most importantly, you yourself then have to petition to the governor, try to make a case to get those rights restored. With Spanberger, they're taking the other approach, in which is aggressively looking for felons that they want to give voting rights to. So she has, so far in their first 6 months as governor, restored voting rights to over 66,000 people.
So this is the ballot harvesting of felon votes.
Of felons. And Glenn Youngkin, in his 4-year tenure, had done about 10,000 total. And again, these were cases, they came to him, he reviewed them. This is her going, hey, felons, I want you voting. And she also waived all the other requirements. So
and we're not doing votes from prison yet, right? Where these are people who have served their time.
I'm sure that'll be coming.
Okay, we're not crossing that.
But they're not checking. She's not checking, how if you have outstanding fees, you can still vote now under Spanberger. She's waiving those requirements. And then she's actually
How is she legally authorized to do this?
I guess you just do it, man.
Okay. I assume there's going to be a legal challenge,
you just do shit, yeah.
Because I'm confused. I thought you said the Constitution prohibits.
Oh, yeah, it does. Yeah.
So how is she getting around a constitutional provision?
The governor has to... sorry. Actually, I should have explained that better. The loophole is only the governor can override that.
Oh,
so
okay.
She's the governor, and it used to be they have to go
So it's
to
almost
the
like a
governor.
pardon thing.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
So, and she has instructed her Secretary of the Commonwealth, a woman by the name of Candy King, to expand, quote-unquote, proactive identification of ex-convicts. Now, that's interesting in that it implies there's certain ex-convicts they want to target over others, because you think it's pretty easy to know who all your ex-convicts are. Why would you have to identify specific ones? And I'll get into that. But she Candy King kind of gave up what the game is here, because she said that denying felons the right to vote is a relic of Jim Crow, which is the only time I've ever seen them admit, who really is in the prisons. But what's also interesting is that in November, there's a constitutional referendum on the ballot to give all felons in Virginia the right to vote. Now, obviously, she's letting these 66,000 felons vote, who can then go vote on a ballot question to let every other felon vote. And nationwide, there's about 3.5 million felons who do not have voting rights. But as I was hinting at the beginning of the show, is this all a politics game because it'll help Democrats? And the answer is yes. And that if we're going to go back the past 20 years of states making advancements on letting convicts vote, at first it was bipartisan. The past 10 years, it is almost exclusively blue states. It's California, Delaware, Maryland, New York, Colorado, New Jersey, Washington, Connecticut, D.C. The only real exception I found was Kentucky, but they have a Democrat governor. So it tells you they certainly think they will benefit more. And the only people I've really heard argue on principle are the more libertarian types who make the argument, well, if you've paid your service, you should have that right restored.
I can see the argument, but there's no doubt
I can see
that
the argument, but I also want to win elections, so I don't care.
And there's no way that the people doing this are doing it for principled reasons to defend the rights of those who have paid their debt to society.
Yeah, which they're all going to reoffend anyway. But so the study you up there, there's actually not as many studies as I had hoped researching this, but everyone found the same thing. So this is from 2002, and it's what would have happened if we let felons vote in the 2000 presidential election. Their demographic data, their polling suggested about 70% of felons would have voted for Democrat, would have voted Democrat. And in the 2000 election specifically, Florida would have flipped blue. Because obviously that was decided
which would have flipped the election,
which would have flipped the election. So the entire 2000 election would have been flipped by felons voting. They also ran the number on Senate races from 1978 through 2002. They found that 7 races would have had different outcomes. Surprise, surprise, every single one would have been a Republican seat flipping Democrat if felons could vote. So I looked at some more recent data. The Washington Examiner had reported on this in 2014, and this was just polling data on felons voting, or if they could vote, how would they register? In New York, 62% would have been identified as Democrat, only 9% Republican. And then that same study found nationwide is about 73% Democrat. Now, the only real benefit is that felons have very, very low voter turnout rates. We're talking single digit to low double digit. But again, that was still enough to turn a presidential election. So any bit helps. There was one group, I actually think I deleted it from my notes. I believe it was the Marshall Project, and they were the only poll that found what I found, but was trying to pretend otherwise. So they did a poll of around 50,000 prisoners, but 50% of their sample was white. Only about 10 or so percent of their sample was black. Now,
how was that possibly the sample pulled from?
Correct. So
that
they
makes
had
no
that.
sense.
So it turns out that, and I was hinting at this at the beginning of the show, prisoners, their politics, it actually generally mirrors demographics at large. So in the Marshall Project's poll, about 60% of white men in jail backed Trump.
Okay.
Which is basically in line with the general population. Now, they had oversampled white people to an enormous degree so that they can have the headline that most prisoners support Trump. Well, that's because they oversampled white people. And in their own data, they acknowledge like black people are being underrepresented by a factor of like 5 to 1 or 6 to 1 in their own data. So it's not representative, but it's this sort of irresponsible reporting where they know the study is going to be quoted without that asterisk on it. But basically they found black people are, overwhelmingly voting Democrat in jail, or would if they could. Same with Hispanics. So it's
and that's the thing. Like this whole thing about felons voting Democrat is actually it's itself kind of coded because it's just a reflection of crime rates by race. And
correct. And that's
the fact
exactly
of the matter.
what it is.
So the fact that prisoners are disproportionately black as a result of disproportionate black crime, and black voters disproportionately support Democrats. I think there's not necessarily anything about the status of being a criminal or a felon that means Democrat voter.
Yeah.
It's a function of the racial tendencies that correspond with both crime and voting Democrat.
Yeah. Criminals generally are not very ideological, and I will say I was actually surprised the result from the Marshall Project that white men are just as right wing in the general population as they are in prison. My bias would have went the other way, but to be fair, the fact that they rigged the demographics like that also doesn't necessarily inspire confidence in their other findings. In that, yes, I mean the odds of having half their sample be white when it should obviously be, I think, less than 30% or something, and only 10% black when it should be 50 or 60. So yeah, so that was off. But anyway, the TLDR here is that felons voting overwhelmingly helps Democrats. They're well aware of it, and that's why all the people pushing for it are Democrats.
And that's what Virginia's doing. And I assume there's going to be some kind of legal challenge to this. But if Youngkin did it to the scope of 50,000 people during his term prior, and she is doing the same thing legally, just on a larger scale, it sounds like I I don't know without looking at what the law says and what has been done previously, but I'm going to guess if Youngkin did it and she's doing the same thing, that she's unfortunately probably on some pretty solid legal ground. It sounds like. I assume they'll challenge, but will they actually succeed in that?
Yeah, and I mean, I wish I had time to do this kind of research, but any journalist watching this, please go ahead. I am curious, what are the demographics of Virginia's prisons, and what are the demographics of the 60,000 people she give voting rights back to? Because if the prisons
it would be pretty telling if it's like 90%
if they're half
black
and then 99% black, then it's a little obvious there.
Yeah. Well, you said they're doing a case-by-case review. It's not just blanket restoration. Yeah. So to your point, I assume there are certain criteria they're looking for in deciding who's going to get the voting rights restored and who's not.
Yeah.
I'd have to look into this more. Are they being transparent about those criteria? Do we know exactly what they're searching for?
The referendum they have, the ballot referendum, would give all felons, the right. In which case, the specific targeting might only make sense before this election, and then afterwards they just know. Overall, it's not going to matter.
And that's not the world that she's operating in now. She's operating on a constitutionally allowed governor's discretion, case by case.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what information is she making that case by case evaluation?
It's probably
Stand by
data,
to find out.
Yes.
All right. Thank you for your investigation into that issue. I want to talk about another case now, the second time, at least that I'm aware of a parent of a young mass shooter who has now been sentenced to prison for not intervening sufficiently with his son. So the parents you see here are actually the parents from this is the father of Ethan Crumbley, James Crumbley, back in a 2024 trial and sentencing. But we have another case that just was sentenced this week. But back then in 2024, that was the first case. So these are the parents of Ethan Crumbley, who was a school shooter in Michigan. They were found, not their school shooter son, but the parents were found guilty of involuntary manslaughter for not stopping their son's shooting at school. And even though I disagree with the legal theory as to how they're guilty of involuntary manslaughter, in fairness to those who reached that conclusion, the involvement of the parents was a little more than just failure to intervene.
It was like, I'm going to do a caricature, but it was like the equivalent of the kid being like, hey, mom and dad, I wouldn't mind killing a bunch of people. And they're like, oh, okay, Sonny, you want a new gun? It's pretty close to that. Like, it was bad. Yeah.
But the father, James Crumbley, bought his son the gun 4 days before the shooting, did not secure it, and there were text conversations with the son about certain mental health things like seeing demons. And then at one point the kid was caught with he had said something or written something or drawn something about guns at school and he was caught, and his mom told him, you have to learn how not to get caught. So instead of intervening with him, they were teaching him to be sneaky. Okay, essentially that exact same script has now been deployed in Georgia to put another father in prison. So this is northern Georgia between Atlanta and Athens. Colin Gray is now sentenced to 15 years in prison on a second-degree murder charge for his role in his then 14-year-old son's shooting at his high school. His son killed 2 students and 2 teachers in September 2024. And in this case, very similarly, dad has now been convicted of providing his son with the rifle that was used in the shooting and for ignoring so-called red flags, including that the son had, strangely, all right, this is not me saying that these parents did nothing wrong. I just have deep concerns about the legal theory and how it will be weaponized here. But apparently the son in this case had photos of the Parkland shooter, Nicholas Cruz, all in his room. And his dad said, cool posters, Sonny, have an AR. All right, not good. That is a problem. And I'm not defending that morally, but I do think there are major risks legally in terms of what's being deployed here. More on that in a moment. But same idea here, that dad did not get his son mental health help and created a substantial risk that facilitated the murders. And so here's some news coverage of the conviction and the sentencing that I want to talk about.
The father of a Georgia teenager who killed 4 people at his high school in 2024, now facing a long term in prison.
You were convicted because the warning lights were flashing brighter and brighter, and you didn't get him help, and you didn't remove his access to the guns.
Judge Nicholas Prim handing down a sentence of 15 years. Colin Gray was convicted in March after a 2-week trial, prosecutors focusing on his decision to give his then 14-year-old son Colt an AR-15 style rifle. The weapon seen here on surveillance footage before prosecutors say Colt killed 2 students and 2 teachers. Prosecutors pointed to years of troubling warning signs, including the teen's bedroom wall, lined with photos of the Parkland, Florida school shooter. Earlier this week, Colt Gray, now 16, was sentenced to life without parole after pleading guilty to the deadly shooting. His father's sentence, part of a growing movement to hold parents responsible for the actions of teenage school shooters.
The principle that's at play here is not just the actions of the parents, it's actually their inactions. And that's where the law is really shifting.
That's a huge bitch.
Some considerations. Okay, again, just morally speaking, could these parents have done better? Should they have done better?
They
Clearly,
fucked up, man.
All right, if your son is a school shooter, if he's friends with Tim Walz, you messed up.
Yeah.
But is there any doubt about how this practice and this precedent will be abused? And maybe you say, listen, these parents are pieces of crap.
People, is how
well, there's okay, there's that consideration, and there is the motive with which it is being done. Okay, who is going to be policed? Who is going to be prosecuted under this precedent? It's 2 demographics. Okay, I think there is clearly a racial component here that I want to speak to in a moment. But number one, and it's because this isn't speculation. This is demonstrated. The demographic of gun owners. Okay. Do you think that this novel reasoning, this novel legal theory is going to apply to parents whose kids are involved in non-gun killings? Let's say that dad gives his son a beer and son later takes the car and kills and hits and kills someone. Are we going to prosecute dad for manslaughter? And similarly, we could say that dad made a bad mistake. He's a piece of crap. Shouldn't have given his minor son a beer, and dad is absolutely responsible in way X, Y, or Z for that death. I don't think that's an insane line of reasoning. My question is, will this prosecutorial strategy actually apply in that case? And I don't think it's ever going to happen unless you can show that that dad said, here, son, have a beer and then go drive the family car. If it was anything more subtle than that, I think it'd be a very difficult case. Yeah. Now, we know it's only going to happen in the gun context because the prosecutor who developed this theory in Michigan in that Crumbly case outright said it. Okay, this was Karen McDougal was the prosecutor in Michigan who started this whole idea of prosecuting the parents of school shooters if they didn't sufficiently act to stop their school shooter kids or mass shooter kids. She said at the press conference, gun ownership is a right, and with that right comes great responsibility. I want to be really clear that these charges are intended to hold individuals who contributed to this tragedy accountable and also send a message that gun owners have a responsibility. When they fail to uphold that responsibility, there are serious criminal consequences. Now, again, the Crumbly case in Michigan, they did not violate gun laws that exist in that state. The laws of in terms of the transfer of the gun, the purchase of the gun, not violated. They went after him, the parents, for not securing the gun, which I agree is a good practice. The parents should have done that. Michigan law doesn't say you have to do that, though. So this prosecutor had no angle on the gun front. She developed this secondary responsibility angle, not just as a way to go after parents who fail, but by her own words, as a way to go after people who own guns who she doesn't like politically. She wants them to be more responsible. And since the Michigan legislature and governor have not written law that she likes about securing guns or how to store guns when there are minors in the house, she's just going to create a new legal theory to go after those people anyway. Okay, that when the prosecutor is that political openly about her intent in completely inventing a new way that the law is being interpreted and applied, we should be skeptical of that, because this is not letter of the law stuff. This is a prosecutor picking targets she doesn't like to go after them for political reasons. That is always a worrisome thing, and we have to be wary of it. And as you mentioned, the other thing is, do we actually believe that this standard is going to be applied in a race-neutral way? No. Because we heard that legal analysts say, well, now we're going after parents not for what they did, but what they didn't do. Okay, I eagerly anticipate the prosecutions of absent fathers in Chicago and St. Louis and Baltimore for what they didn't do? Are we finally get all the are we going to get all the hood fathers to be put on trial for all the gang or group member shooters that they have created over all these years?
I doubt it. I mean, these two cases are particularly egregious, and and this is kind of where it starts, though, in that I fear we are going to see cases where it is things where maybe the parent was negligent, but it was the degree of negligence that's reasonable. They thought their kid was just being moody, or there was something they just simply didn't know about, and they get punished for that or something. Like, this is a bloodlust against gun owners. And I remember hearing, like, decades ago, every time there was a mass shooting, some boomers would be like, we should start jailing the parents. And, like, not even with any actual reason, just we want to jail the parents. And it's going to materialize beyond this.
How do we know? I forgot one other thing about Karen McDougal, the prosecutor in Michigan who invented this approach. How do we know that it's not about holding adults who are responsible for the actions of these minors? If you hold these parents responsible for what their son did, and again, in moral terms, I do. All right, they failed as parents. They are not good people. What happened is not understandable. I'm not defending them on moral grounds, but they have a responsibility to their kid, granted. So do the teachers and administrators at the school. And in this particular case with the Crumbly kid in Michigan in 2021, he was actually in class the morning of the shooting. He was writing in his notebook or drawing. A math teacher found him drawing a gun with a bleeding figure, and he wrote the words, "The thoughts won't stop, help me." And so the teacher sent him to the counselor, and the counselor talked to him for a while and then sent him back to class. I think he had the gun on him in his backpack at the time. Then he went to class and committed the shooting. Now, am I blaming the teacher and the counselor? No, maybe they should have done a little more investigation, but do I think that they should be legally accountable for manslaughter here? No, I don't. Maybe there are things they could have done with their job better, but they have a responsibility and an obligation to that kid, maybe not exactly the same way that the parents do, but something very similar. And yet they botched it also. And the prosecutor has no interest in going after these teachers and school administrators, even though they saw the warning signs and they did not intervene and people died. So it's the gun ownership angle. That's why this prosecutor did this. And we're going to keep doing this practice.
Yep.
Anyway, time for some hoax hate. This one.
And now
got some
nobody
characters
saw it
in it,
happen,
man.
but it's totally a product of Trump's America hoax hate crime of the week.
Ah, shit, it's backwards. You think they'll notice?
Did you look at this story before the show?
So I only had your description, which was, quote, Seattle lesbian attacked by mentally ill neighbor, which I Googled directly and could not find. So
good,
no,
good. Okay, because I want your authentic, fresh reaction.
All right.
So we're going back to Seattle. And in this case, the violence, as you described, the violence is clearly not a hoax. Okay, it's caught on video. But I think the alleged motivation is, or at least might be, this is in South Seattle, the suburb of Burien, I'm not sure how it's pronounced, but a lesbian called Linda Irish lives across the street from a guy called Andy Dimitrov and Andy's father. On July 11th, Linda says she and her wife and her 10-year-old kid were loading up their car, I presume a Subaru, of course. Although I don't know if there's a Subaru in the video. We'll have to see if we can spot one. So they're loading up their car and they hear Andy and his family, his father, maybe both of them, there's yelling at the house across the street. They can hear it inside the home while they're loading up their car. So Linda walks into the street and starts yelling at their house, "Be quiet. We don't want to hear your yelling," something to that effect. Andy comes out with a concealed metal baseball bat and then it hits her in the shoulder quite hard.
Oh, shit.
And Linda is alleging the attack was homophobic and anti-lesbian and should be charged as a hate crime. Prosecutors originally said they don't have sufficient evidence to say it's a hate crime, to bring a hate crime charge. Whatever this is, whether it was homophobic in motive or not, this is an absolute classic clash of Seattle characters. You have hideous lesbian meets violent mentally ill guy. I think the only qualifier here is that the mentally ill guy actually has a home. But two memes collide. Again, I had to censor the actual violence for YouTube.
Disturbing surveillance video showing the moments a man hits his neighbor with a baseball bat. That neighbor has since been arrested and is undergoing a mental competency evaluation.
The pain was searing. He reared back like he was playing for the M's and just swung.
Prosecutors say the attacker is Andy Dimitrov. You can see him walking back to his house and getting into a car while yelling at a man deputies say is his father about getting a prescription and going to jail.
Hey, get my prescription. You want me to go to jail?
Deputies say Dimitrov drove away with his father, then threw the bat out of the car window. They say he called 911 3 times, admitting to the bat attack and threatening to burn City Hall.
They found him quite a ways away at a bar where he'd already assaulted someone else.
Irish says Dimitrov used anti-gay slurs against her in the seconds before the attack and wants to see a hate crime charge filed. In their report, investigators wrote the same thing. But King County prosecutors say there's not enough evidence. We went to Dimitrov's house to see what his father had to say about the situation.
She's a lady who deserves to be like this. You know why? First, she's not. She don't know what she see. Lady or man?
Are they Russian? He doesn't like gay people, but denied that Irish's sexuality had anything to do with the incident.
See the flag on the house? Yeah, that's her.
Well, she says she believes your son attacked her because she's
No, she didn't. My son didn't do nothing. She provoking him.
He blamed it instead on his son's mental health issues.
He's a crazy, what they call him, mental problem.
But Irish says this isn't the first run-in she's had with Dimitrov, and now she and her family are scared.
I need him to not be in this neighborhood because we fear retaliation.
Now, Dimitrov is currently going through a court-ordered mental evaluation. Irish has started a GoFundMe to pay for medical expenses, a lawyer, and a fence she's having installed around the house because of the incident.
That is the most lesbian I've ever seen.
You know, the fence wouldn't have mattered in this case because it didn't happen on her property. But good luck with the fence.
There's a hideous house, too, behind her.
Lots of hideous things involved here, it seems. What do you think this lesbian woman, Linda Irish, does for a living?
What could she do? A coffee shop?
No.
Some sort of therapy thing?
Exactly.
Is that actually it? Oh, okay. I did not read the story, by the way.
She is a licensed mental health counselor.
They're all mentally ill.
In Seattle. That's her job. Imagine going to that creature for life advice and sanity. And I don't buy that the attack was about being a lesbian because it wasn't.
She's being a nosy bitch. It's
correct.
Business. Yeah.
Exactly. Now, it seems like this family across the street has their own problems.
Yeah,
but
I wouldn't want to live with them either, but
it's not like they said, hey, a lesbian, let's get her. She went into the street toward their home to yell at them. They did not come to her for whatever her freak show life is. Yeah. She was intrusive. And again, for all I know, they were being nosy or being noisy neighbors. They were being obnoxious, whatever. But you're out in the street picking a fight. And I'm not saying that that justifies getting batted in the way that she was. That's a crime, all right, to be clear. But I don't believe for a second that this is anti-lesbian hate in motive. And we have video of the attack. She says the guy used anti-lesbian language. Why isn't it in the video? Yeah. Where's the anti-lesbian language?
Yeah, it's
I'm
going to watch the uncensored version the second this is over.
Yeah, it's in the news story, but the news story is age restricted on YouTube, so I had to be careful about how I presented it. But it is out there. Now, in their GoFundMe for their fence and their medical bills and all this, the organizer on behalf of Linda Irish and her family, they say that the prosecutor, because remember the prosecutors originally said, we don't have evidence for hate crime. Like, this is a crime. It was an assault. So we're going to deal with it. But we don't have evidence to say that it was anti-gay or anti-lesbian in motive. According to the GoFundMe, now prosecutors have changed their mind and they say, actually, it is a hate crime. We're bringing hate crime charges. I only saw this from the GoFundMe, and then it's reported in a smaller local blog. And I'm not saying this local blog is reputable or not. I have no idea. But I do note that I haven't seen major outlets who reported on the crime itself reporting that the prosecutor is in fact bringing hate crime charges now. So I wonder if in fact this is just a claim from the GoFundMe organizer to sensationalize it for more money. I'm not saying it's a lie because I don't have conclusive information to the contrary. I haven't seen confirmation of this independent of the GoFundMe itself and this small blog that's saying the same thing. But
I do like that she's only raised $7,000.
Well, I guess they're going to get a sweep
by Shiloh Hendrick standards.
Hopefully it's enough for a fence,
Yes,
but
exactly.
Fencing's expensive, man. I had to shop for fence work a couple years ago, and holy crap.
Yeah.
It's like, I guess I'm going to learn to do fencing myself. I don't know.
Right. Yeah. I mean, jokes aside, this guy probably should be in prison if he's just going to be attacking women, but
it's a crime.
Obviously,
Clearly
not a fan of this woman myself.
Yeah, but I wonder. I'm guessing here. I'm judging a book by its cover. What is this woman's philosophy on locking people up, though? Because does she have the same sort of philosophy as the woman sitting on the bench talking to Nick Shirley in New York? There's this NIMBY attitude, not in my backyard. Oh, we should restore all the criminals and we should give them another chance. Unless the guy lives across the street from me and has a baseball bat, then I want him locked up. But for everybody else, as long as this guy moves to a different neighborhood, it's fine if he's out of prison. Yeah. Anyway, you sent me this story as well. This is maybe some rare Donald
White
Trump
House hoax. This is humiliating, man.
Hoax hate. Yeah.
They don't know what the fuck they're doing.
That's what Trump is saying about the Justice Department right now.
This is really bad.
Because Judge Janine, the U.S. attorney for D.C., has now dropped the criminal case against David Hearn. We talked about this case at the start of July. This is the cyclist previously arrested and accused of vandalizing the D.C. reflecting pool. Now, the Justice Department says the damage to the pool was the result of flawed installation by the contractor. Piro's office says they only learned of the flawed installation by the contractor upon Piro's own investigation. She actually went down to the reflecting pond herself, and she says they learned this information after the grand jury had already delivered an indictment for Hearn. So she goes down to the reflecting pool herself on July 17th when it was drained, and she saw all the damage down there. So she requested all documents from the Interior Department about the pool lining and installation. By the way, the Interior Department under Doug Burgum, who himself has been saying much the same things that Judge Janine has been saying about how conclusive the evidence was that this was vandalism. So they have some questions to answer for. She looked at the documentation that was provided from the Interior Department. She found that the contractor, Atlantic Industrial Coatings, did a rushed and flawed job. So presumably they were hurrying because, of course, we had to get this done by the America 250 events for the 4th of July. It wasn't done right. So the thing peeled, it chipped. It was, it was peeling away. David Hearn perhaps grabbed onto it or touched it, but they don't have evidence that he took a knife to it.
It was like 350 feet of damage, which means if someone actually carried that out, well, what would that actually look like? There would be video footage of it. It would be pretty obvious. And it turns out they got the wrong guy, which was no one. But no, it calls into question a lot of other stuff. I mean, there was a report from The Blaze, I guess it was this year, where they claimed to have identified the pipe bomber from January 6th. And they used gait analysis and claimed they were 94% sure, which in my opinion is not enough certainty to publish a name or anything. I think it was irresponsible. But it was just bizarre that within a week of that report, then the FBI claims, no, we got this guy. It's this autistic black guy who lives down the street. And I thought, I guess it's crazy timing. They found the guy right as the Blaze claimed to find someone else. Yeah. I think we reacted on the show, but now I'm thinking maybe they just effed that up too, and they're trying to save face with anyone.
Maybe. I mean,
I don't know. We really don't know.
If the DOJ doesn't have the evidence against Hearn or anybody implicitly accused in what they called vandalism at the reflecting pool, or if they've discovered new counter evidence to what they thought previously, good. Okay. If that's what the evidence shows, if that's what the truth is, then the charges should be dropped, even though I hate to see a cyclist let go in this way, but that's okay.
We should get him on something else.
we can't let the Justice Department off on this, though, because July 2nd, Jeanine Pirro told reporters, quote, "The evidence shows and we will prove beyond a reasonable doubt that Hearn, the cyclist guy, willfully destroyed property at the reflecting pool." What was the evidence that you had beyond a reasonable doubt? If it was beyond a reasonable doubt then, how did you find such reasonable doubt now? Maybe what you think is compelling, conclusive evidence is countered later by something you didn't foresee. I suppose that could have happened here, but the problem is they have not told us what that compelling and conclusive evidence on which they were previously operating is. Whoopsie doesn't work when you previously made confident, conclusive statements about who did this, how they did this. What were those statements based on?
Yeah.
We don't have an answer for that. And if people are getting criminal charges without an answer, whether I like them based on their politics or their recreation activities or not, the Justice Department has to answer for that.
Yeah. The, historically, the DOJ's conviction rate is around 99%, meaning if you're convicted or indicted by the DOJ, the incentives are, okay, I got to get a plea deal and avoid trial because I'm going away for a while if I actually go to trial. And that also saves the taxpayer a lot of money. So far under the Trump administration, the second one, their conviction rate has been something like 80%, which means that if you're indicted, it is more in your favor to take the gamble of going to trial. And to be fair, I mean, some of this is political in that, if you're indicting someone in Washington, D.C. or a liberal city for something political, there is going to be a lot of jury nullification. But the fact of the matter is, like, Jeanine Pirro probably was not the best choice to this.
I can't believe it.
Yeah. She
The
was
Fox
very
News
entertaining
host has
on
failed
her
us again.
court show, though.
Yeah, well, and at least she did the due diligence of going and finding the information down at the Interior Department. And again, I don't think she handled this properly. I think that if it is as described, she should apologize to the public and to Hearn for doing this. But imagine if she had pursued this case without doing the due diligence of going down to the Interior Department, because guess who would? His defense attorneys. And guess what they would find? The exact same information that she found. Yeah. And how embarrassing would it be if this sort of thing had gone to trial and she had been wrecked? Yeah. Not her personally, I assume it'd be assigned to some other prosecutor, but whoever was representing the federal government at that trial got wrecked this badly in court. It would have been even more embarrassing. So I'm glad that they found the truth, but I still am not satisfied by the way that they've communicated it.
I mean, I guess if I had to defend it, what would the spin be? That
he's a cyclist.
At least they admit when they're wrong. The Biden admin would have, prosecuted over nothing, something like that. I mean, which they did. So I guess that would be the spin. But anyway.
Yeah, well, and it's also the other thing to consider is how easy it is to get those indictments. The federal government brings crap charges or can bring crap charges frequently.
Yeah.
To your point on prior higher success rates prosecuting. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they had
exact stuff was bullshit with Biden. Yeah.
So, whenever you hear so and so charged, especially in the federal context, I don't think it necessarily. Obviously, you never take a charge to mean guilt. You're supposed to have a presumption of innocence for a reason. But this case goes to show, number one, how easy it is to bring a charge, and number two, how easy it is to get a grand jury.
Yeah.
To bring that charge.
With the grand jury, I think we might have talked about this before, but I forgot. Does only the prosecution make their case and the grand jury goes off that? Oh, all right. Well, then you're obviously, you're going to,
Which, of course, it's going to be a lower bar than a criminal conviction, because the question is the evidence sufficient to bring a charge? It's not, is this person guilty? It's just, is it reasonable to suspect that this person did
without
the crime?
hearing anything to the contrary? Is that even enough? Because in theory, if that's not, then with evidence to the contrary, it would not be, I guess. Anyway.
All right. Time to catch up on some Super Chat. We'll call it a night.
All right. We got some Tim comments about our last story, so we'll get those in a sec. But first is Starch Manning. I was talking about Republicans being racist, as usual, and focusing on scary grown people crossing borders instead of Trump tanking the economy.
Wait a minute.
I have no idea what you're trying to say here. Let's try this again.
My brain is fried. Okay.
I was talking about Republicans being racist. Now, does he think we are or are not? I don't know yet. As usual, does it often. and focusing on scary grown people crossing borders instead of Trump tanking the economy. He says grown people, not brown people, which leads me to believe he's not racist.
Oh,
So
okay.
maybe he
They
thinks
were
we
grown
are.
people. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I guess the point would be maybe to some or maybe to Starch, like that's a distraction from what's going on,
With
like
the
the border
economy,
crossing in
inflation, all that.
Ceuta. I would say both are very pressing. Like for me personally, am I looking past Trump's mistakes on Iran that have been economically consequential? And even his other stuff, tariffs and otherwise, that have been economically consequential because Ceuta? No. In fact, we talked about Iran and what's going on there before the Ceuta stuff tonight. But if you look at Ceuta, and I'm not saying you, Starch, I'm saying anybody. If you look at Ceuta and think insignificant distraction issue, good luck, because that's a problem for every European country. That's a problem for our country in North America. And even if our economy is in perfect health and absolutely crushing, and we're not dealing with the inflation and all the other nonsense that's going on right now, if you have a country that is in perfect condition and that's going on at your border, watch how long your country is in perfect condition for. It won't be long.
Oh, also, I was wrong. Tim's comments don't have to do with our last story. He was commenting in the chat about how, like, it could be true that it was a combination of poor work, but the guy also vandalized on top of the poor
Depends
work.
on how far you're willing to stretch.
It seems like he kind of did, but
Did
it was,
he
it
pull
was
on
very
it?
minor compared to
Yeah.
what they were alleging. Is kind of my take on it.
Yeah, well, to your point, and I don't know if they accused Hearn personally of this. I'd have to go back and listen to what they said. The claim was, like you said, some 350 feet of slicing as though by knife or something. And thus far, we, from them, have been provided no evidence that anybody did this thing. In fact, Trump said there was video of someone doing it, and we've never seen that video.
Like, I do want a cyclist in prison, obviously, so it's not like I enjoy reporting this, but something
Yeah,
like that.
so
Anyway.
the communication on that has what appears to be outright lies on that too. So
Very unfortunate. Producer Tim, who do you think is the worst person in regards to using their family member to gain/cling to power? I vote for Joe Biden. It's Dr. Joe Biden, Tim. In her recent book, she said she thought Joe was having a stroke on debate night. Did she take him to the hospital? Of course not.
That was 4
that's
days
an
ago,
interesting
5
choice on her
days
part.
ago.
she would maybe be the queen of those particular pieces of crap.
Yeah.
But by the same reasoning, can I let people like Mitch McConnell's wife, Elaine Chao, off the hook?
No.
You're doing the same thing. It's just the office of presidency is higher profile, but it's the same thing.
Yeah. I remember before that debate, like in the back of my head, I was like, what if I'm wrong about Joe Biden not being there mentally, and like somehow we're in some bizarro universe where the right-wing media has been wrong about this all along and he knocks it out of the park, and then 10 seconds into the debate, all that doubt was gone. It was
I remember
fliberating.
because I remember watching the debate because I
bad.
watch it on the TV at home, which I don't usually do. Most of the time, if I'm watching things live, I'll be like at a computer station working. This one I knew was going to be a show, so this was like a grab your popcorn type event, which for me in politics is so rare. But I could tell. I don't know that I did not expect Joe Biden to perform well. I expected him to be the hardly coherent old man that he was. But it certainly went worse than even I expected it to, and I knew it was going downhill. And once he said that statement, we finally beat Medicare, and Trump said, I don't know what he's talking about, and I don't think he does either.
Yeah, it was good.
That was a moment where you realized that Joe Biden was probably done. Now, I didn't expect the party to kick him out in the way that they did, but you knew that the Trump momentum that had been building, based off his legal wins, getting all that stuff taken care of and thrown out and defeated before the election, and then of course the assassination attempt and all this momentum that was building behind him. We forget now, because I think in a lot of ways the second term has been mismanaged. There have been some good things, but a lot of poor choices in the second term. And Trump is right now probably at his lowest popularity that he ever has been as a politician. If it's not, it's very close. But we forget in that summer 2024 how much real steam was behind Trump, how much real enthusiasm. Yeah. Remember him driving the dump truck into Wisconsin and doing the McDonald's bit?
Well, Obama's speech, the guy who does that Pod Save America podcast, claimed on the air on his show that he had gotten access to the internal polling before Biden dropped out.
Yeah.
And Trump was projected in their polling to get over 400 electoral votes, which is like blue states, like New Jersey being in play, New Hampshire, like getting a number of blue states, meaning basically.
I didn't Biden or some of his people, someone claimed that he would have performed better than Kamala. I wish I could see that play out. I don't know. I mean,
I wish we could either, but
as bad as that was for him, and I do believe he was destined to lose to Donald Trump, I think most Democrats would have been in that election.
Well, the funny thing with Harris is she blames not having enough time to prepare for her loss. And in fact, that was the title of her book was like 50-something days or whatever, or however many days she had to campaign. But all the polling and evidence suggested that the more exposure people had to her, the less they liked her.
Yeah, well, why do you think they hid her too?
That's the thing. It was in her best interest to not have any time, because the more people saw of her, the less likely it became.
And all indications are that she's going to run again. And they're going to put out their parade of unlikables on the stage. We're going to have Kamala and Pete and all the jackasses who were on the stage in 2019 and 2020. And I can't wait for that show, except for the fact that like Gavin Newsom will probably emerge victorious. And Gavin Newsom is a real threat to win, I think.
Oh, it was 107 days. Thanks, Tim. That was off by 100%.
Yeah.
All right, I think we got one more.
Yeah, I think Tim has another thought here. Come on, Mats. You guys are being unfair to the Seattle police chiefs. They're only traveling, checks Google, over 200,000. Oh, wait, over 2,000 miles to get home to Chicago. Holy shit. By the way, is it cynical to suspect his commute got covered by taxpayers, even if it is illegal to do that? I'm sure that his home travel officially is not covered in that way. That has to come out of his salary. But his salary was something like $350,000 a year, which I don't know what police chiefs in major cities make. For all I know, that's right on par with what they do make in all these cities. But for a guy to be making that many public dollars and leaving town and passing his responsibilities off to others, I don't actually have as big a problem with the salary as I do the idea that you can leave your responsibilities and obligations for that long and still collect the salary. The reports are this guy was out for a couple weeks at Christmas and New Year's. He was out something like every other weekend or a weekend a month going to see his family. And I understand, as someone who loves seeing my family, and one of the things I cherish about my job is I do get to see my family every day, and we're a part of each other's lives. However, you do understand as a provider for a family, hey, if you want the big check and the big responsibility, part of that means the trade-off of potentially being away from your family. Once you accept the dollars, you have an obligation to the public. You don't get both. And it really seems like this guy was trying to get both, to get the big pot of public money and go home and hang out with his family. And that's not the way it works. Once you accept the check, you have responsibilities and obligations, and it sounds like he wasn't fulfilling them.
We got two more, and then Tim asked, did we get the naughty Twerkman Rumble rant? I don't recall that one.
I think we did. I remember reading it earlier, but yeah, that was the one about Mitch McConnell and the pearly gates.
Good. So
yeah.
Right,
Thank you, Honey Twerkman.
Esoterica Unbound. Using the same logic applied in the study of felon voting, one would have to conclude that jailing all Democrats would dramatically reduce the crime rate. Well, one very specific type of Democrat, but I'm fine extrapolating from this. Why not?
Yeah.
Why not?
Thank you, Esoterica
We
Unbound.
got Kay Burke got back to us, and he even paid for the right to answer our question.
Oh, thank you, Kay Burke, or B. Kirk.
Joven
Bradley. That's the name of the debate. A leftist guy. Okay, would you email me a link to his stuff? Because
I'll look him up. I'll post
I actually, I like to, for people that are willing to talk in good faith. It's fun to do. I'm not interested in dunk debate contests where people are trying to win, quote unquote. But if it is actually people trying to understand, and if I were to engage in something like this, I would. It's not like an effort to try to dunk on somebody, to own somebody. It's to understand the thought process and get down to first principles.
Well,
those conversations can be pretty interesting when there's good faith. It's hard to find left-wing good faith, in my opinion.
I'm reading his thumbnails. Joven gets heated when this guest gets racist. All caps.
Okay.
This guest ignores, all caps, the right's hypocrisy.
Okay.
Racists always show their true colors. And then it's a thumbnail of some guy pointing, and it says, "You're a stupid N."
So I'm going to go on his show and press the button.
He has cat ears on his profile picture.
I'm going to go on the show and press.
Fuck you, nigger.
I don't think this guy's going to like us at all, unfortunately.
I will also press.
You are a nigger.
I got them both. All right. Thank you, K. Burke. I'm happy to check it out. Maybe he's,
We'll do a reaction together next week.
All right. Are we all set? We got everything?
Let me see.
Looks like it. I got a refresh and it looks good.
I'm refreshing too. It looks so good. And K. Burke / B. Kirk did say he's more of like a what was his term? Gotcha kind of guy.
It's all about the ownership. It's all about the dunks.
Tim says sending one more tippy, so we'll wait for that. And then,
all right.
It's our last one. Producer Tim, which is more embarrassing? 1, an inexperienced politician, Trump, doing so well in his first term you have to cheat to defeat him in an election, or 2, you got the most votes ever and did so shit you were going to lose to the guy you beat last time.
Well, that for anybody who believes there was no fraud in 2020, again, it depends on your definition of fraud. But does anybody actually believe that Joe Biden is the most voted for president of all time? Nobody actually believes that. So the question is the fraud like hacking voting machines or submitting votes for people who are fake or something? I don't know that that's the case. I do know that COVID created a whole bunch of new voting rules in these places that allowed for the sort of ballot harvesting behavior and activity that does allow one to collect votes in volumes previously unseen and unseen since. So when we say rigging, when we say fraud, it's not a fake name written on the ballot that is then mailed in. Yeah. It's the fact that people could go around in many of these jurisdictions, go to an apartment complex where the ballots were already mailed to those people, go to a nursing home. Officially, you can't tell people how to vote. That's a violation of the law. But if you nudge, wink, wink, and you get them to check the Democrat box, and in many jurisdictions you are legally authorized or were through temporary changes to deliver that ballot for the person, all of a sudden a whole giant group of people who would not have voted Democrat, didn't care to vote, mostly just wanted some kind of ballot harvester to stop harassing them about it, so they checked the box and signed the thing and gave it to them.
Yeah.
That's how you get to 81 million. It's by harvesting people who never would have voted otherwise, other than the bizarre changes that we implemented in response to a ridiculous virus craze back then.
Yeah. We got one more from Taker610. I guess he's a little behind in the episode. He says, holy crap, what the hell is wrong in Maine? It's what we're all trying to figure out.
The incest situation.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's good. Well, and I don't think that's going to matter to that guy's campaign at all. I don't think it's going to change anything. They're not going to kick him out for being an incest guy. And technically, I don't think the term incest applies, does it? Does second cousin count as incest?
I don't think, well, it's legal, so no. Although the only thing that might hang over him is they have in Maine what's called sore loser laws, where I think you can't run for office unsuccessfully and then run for another office within the same year.
Huh.
And I believe he had declared candidacy for, I think, governor this year as well, and then withdrawn. But it might be an unconstitutional law, so I don't know.
As in federally unconstitutional?
I'm just giving an executive summary of I've seen people say it might, if they do try to challenge it, then it might just turn into a legal battle.
That seems crazy.
Is this even allowed?
Because there's no constitutional right to run for office,
right?
But perhaps they would say it's a First Amendment issue or something.
Yeah, I don't know if they're actually right or not, but it's going to be a legal process if it gets challenged. Is my point.
All right.
Anyway,
well,
I think we're good.
Yeah, all finished up. Thank you to our super chatters and live chatters. Thanks to everybody for tuning in tonight, but especially our live chatters and super chatters for making the live show a success. If you're listening on demand later, thank you kindly as well for supporting the show. Of course, thanks to the highly regarded Matt Palumbo for joining. Find his latest highly regarded book and follow him on X. All linked in the description. Thanks to producer Tim for his assistance. Find everything show related at mattchristiansenmedia.com or mattis.gay if you prefer brevity. You could check out the video game there. 2 more weeks to go on the pre-order campaign, mattis.gay/game. Also, join the MC Club if you enjoy the show. Plenty of supporter perks for you there, and you help keep the duct tape production in operation. I am, of course, live on Wednesday and Sunday nights, so we'll be back here on Wednesday. Have a great night and a great week. Until then.